Alright guys, so welcome to part 3 of the series. So here is what you don't want to miss. In part 3, we're going to be diving deeper into advanced techniques like building powerful forms and creating our project with Django's CreateView. We're also going to learn how to style our forms easily with crispy forms. And then we're going to add budget fields to our project, and we're going to link logged in users as project owners. We're also going to learn how to tackle real world challenges like configuring Celery for asynchronous task handling, and we're going to trigger notifications right from the Django admin panel. And we're going to manage projects nearing their due date and automate notification for team members. And that's just the beginning. So whether you're learning Django for personal projects or professional development, this series is going to give you the tools to create scalable, efficient, and user-friendly application. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated. And I'm just going to see you right in the series. All right, guys. So now when you look on our dashboard, we have latest project and task, and there is nothing there. No latest project, no task. And that's because our custom model function is actually working. In the custom model function, we actually defined that we did not want to see any project that is in the past. So what I could do now is to come to our admin. So I'm going to say admin like this, and inside the admin, so I'm just going to log in into the admin portal. Okay, so I'm also going to turn this one on. And now that we are in the admin portal, I'm just going to go into the project. So I'm just going to go into the swifthub, and I just want us to get something on the page, display something. And if you look at it, it's the last date was on the 3rd of January 2025. So I'm just going to make it today. Okay, so now when I refresh, we are going to see a project on the dashboard. We could also do the same thing for the task. All right, but that's not the purpose of today's video. Okay, up until now, every task, every project, every notification we have created is done through the admin dashboard, and we're not going to want our users to have access to the admin dashboard. So to create a project, we actually want to give them a form. We also want to give them the ability to create their own projects on their own dashboard. So here, when you come to maybe add project, you're going to have the ability to add a project right here by the users. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to go into the projects app. So I'm just going to scroll to the views, and that's where we want to write the logic for creating a project. All right, so here I first of all need to import the model. So I'm going to say from dot models, we are importing, and here we are importing the project model like this. And now that we have imported the project model, we need to create our view. So we could create a class-based view and function-based view, but we're going to be sticking with class-based view. So you're going to say class, and our class is going to have a name. So you're going to say project create view like this. And now that we have project create view, is going to inherit from create view like this. So this create view is something that we have to import. So you're going to say from django.views.generic, we have to import create view. So import create view like this, and this create view is what has been passed over here. Okay, so now that we have this, you're going to say model, and the model is going to be the model we are creating the view for, and it's going to be project, which we have already imported. And this create view actually is going to require a form. So we say form underscore class, and the form underscore class is going to be a form that we have created. For now, this form does not exist, but I'm just going to call it project create form or project form. Let me make it project form like this. So that means I have to create this project create form. So I'm just going to say from dot forms, which we have not created yet. So from dot forms import, and we're going to import project form. So I'll have to come into the project and then create forms.py here. All right, so inside the forms.py, I'll have to import forms. So we're gonna say Django from Django dot from Django import, and we're gonna import forms right here, forms. And now that we have imported form, we also need to import our model. So we're gonna say from dot models import, and we're gonna import project. Okay, now that we have project imported, you're gonna have to import class, and this class is gonna be called project form. It's already imported over here. So let me say the class is gonna be project form, and this project form is gonna be inheriting forms dot model form. So model form like this. All right. So now that we have done the inheriting, we're gonna say class, and this class is gonna be the meta class. So inside the meta class, you're gonna define model, and this model is gonna be equal to the model that we have imported. So project, and I'm just gonna set it like this. And now we have to define another variable that is gonna be the fields. So this fields is actually going to be a list, and the list of the fields that we want to include. So when you come into our model, we have a lot of fields right here, like the owner, the ID, and then the team. So here, the first field we're going to set is going to be the name. So we want our users to be able to give a name for the project they are creating, and also they also have to set the owner. So this is something that we are going to automate, so that the logged in user is going to be by default be the owner, but we are just taking it step by step. So I'm going to say owner, and then the owner is going to be the person who is creating it. We also want to have the team that has been assigned to this task, and from there we also want to have the description of the project. So we say description, and from description we also want to have the status, the project status. So the status is actually going to be status, and from status we also have priority. We're going to have priority right here, priority, and after priority we're also gonna have another field, and that is gonna be, so let's check the model here. Priority, we have start date and end dates and other. So I'm just gonna copy this once, sorry, start date and end date. I'm just gonna bring them here. I'm just gonna be putting them down here. Okay, so I'm just going to be putting them down here, and let me comment them out because it's something that I'm just going to delete right away. So we have start date, and then the start date is actually going to be the date that the project is started. And then we also have the end date. So we're going to have end date. Let me copy it as it is from this part, and then set the end date like this. Okay, so now I can just go ahead and clear this part off. Okay, I'm gonna save changes, come to the view, and now we have the form set right here. Okay, so now that we have our form and everything working, the next thing to do is to give it a template. So you're gonna say template underscore name, and this template underscore name is actually going to point to a direction, where a path where we have a template saved over there. So we're gonna put our template in the projects / projects underscore create .html like this. That means I'll have to come into project and then create this folder. And to create it, I first of all have to create a folder called templates like this. And inside the template folder, I also have to create another folder called projects. And inside the project folder, I need to create a file called create projects, the way we named it over here. So I'm just going to copy this, come here, and then the file is going to have this .html like that. Okay, so now we have it created over here. And then the last thing we want to do is to make sure that upon successful creation project, we redirect the users to a particular page, and that is going to be the success URL. And then the success URL is going to let's use reverse lazy, reverse underscore lazy, see like this. And now that we have used reverse lazy, let's import it here. So you're gonna say from Django dot URLs, you're gonna import. So you're gonna import reverse lazy like that. So this reverse lazy is what we have actually used right here, and this is actually gonna accept a path. So in our application, for now, we are just going to redirect them to the dashboard after they have created a project. But it's because we have not actually set up a page for a project list. If we have a page for listing all our projects, then we're going to redirect them to the page where all our projects that we have created are being listed. So for now, we're going to say accounts, column, and then dashboard. And where we are getting this thing from is when you go to into accounts, we inside the URLs we have dashboard, and then inside the main project swifthub, you go to URLs and we have accounts. So this accounts and then dashboard, that is going to give us a specific URL. Okay, now that we have done this, we have to go back into the projects here and then create a file. That is, we want to map our app URL to the main project URL. So you're going to have a file called urls.py. Okay, so inside the url.py, we have to do a couple of imports. So you're going to have from django.urls import, and we're going to have to import path like this. And now that we have imported path, we also need to import our custom view, the one that we just created, this one. So I'm just also going to come here and say from .views import, and we're going to import our project create view like that. Okay, so now that we have imported this, we also have app define app underscore name, and that is going to be the name of our app, and that is going to be project, just like this. So if you should come into apps.py, we have project, and that's what we are setting over here. And now we have to define our URL pattern. So URL patterns like this is going to be a list of our URLs, and the first URL you're going to do is we provide a path like this, and the name of the URL is going to be create. So you're going to create a project here, and I'm going to bring a comma, write this, and then say project create. That is going to be our URL dot as view, as underscore view like this. And from there, we bring a comma and we give it a name, and then the name is going to be create. So it's going to have a name create over here. Let me bring a comma since this is a list. All right, now that we have actually done this, we need to go into our main app URLs. That is going to be in the Swift tab. All right, so now that we have done this, let's go into our projects URL. So we open Swift tab and then URLs. And now we're gonna need to add our projects to this particular one. So what we are gonna be doing is to copy this one right here. Also, in the previous video, I brought a comma here, so I'm just gonna take it out and bring the comma to this part and paste this particular one right here. So it's actually going to be on the project. So we say projects like this, and now we are going to include not accounts.urls, but it's going to be projects.urls. So projects.urls, and then the name is also going to be projects like this. Okay, so now I think I can save changes and visit our URL. So I'm just going to bring this one up, and then I'm just going to do /projects /create like that, and I'm gonna hit enter, and it says page not found. Okay, all right, so we need to bring a comma right here. Okay, save changes, check to see if our server is running, and everything is running. So I'm just gonna go to the page and then refresh, and now it's telling us template does not exist. So this project underscore create.ht, it should be HTML, not HMTL. So we have to also fix that. So I'm just gonna go into my views, and where we have HTML, so I'm gonna make it HTML like this, save changes. And now hopefully everything should just check out. Good, perfect. So now we are now seeing our project page that is being empty. And that's because when you come to project underscore create, we have nothing here. So we could actually say create project like this, save changes. And now when we refresh our page, you're gonna see this create project like this. Okay, let's do a couple of things. First, we're gonna extend. So we're gonna extend, and it's gonna be base.html, so that our form or our page is gonna inherit our base.html, the common blueprint we have for all our pages. So here I'm just gonna refresh, and now you're going to see that right away is inheriting everything that we have over here. Another thing we have to do is to also bring the block content. So block, I'm gonna say content, and that is going to be the page where the part where we load our page specific app, the create project page specific app. And the form that we actually included here is actually gonna be this form. You're gonna have, you could now access the form like this, the form like that. Let me save changes and then refresh the page. So when I save changes and refresh, we have now successfully loaded the form that we created on the page like this. Okay, but to even go ahead and do this, I'm just first of all gonna scroll to where into our template where we have the page. All right, to even style our page better, I'm just gonna scroll down to where we have our template. So let me load the template from this part. So let's drag and drop the template you're using for the project. And now I'm just gonna add it as a workspace. Okay. Okay, so when I scroll down here, I'm seeing pages that is coming from our template, and I have also left a link in the description for you to download it. So you scroll down and you go to project add. So inside the project add, let me zoom out a little bit. Inside the project add, I'm gonna search for main content. So the main content is right here, and that's because our block content actually starts from the main content. So everything within the main content like this, I'm just gonna collapse it and then cut everything within the main content. Or in this case, I'm just gonna copy it. So I'm just gonna copy from here. I'm only going to not include a section, but everything within the section, I'm just gonna copy it and come to our project create. And inside our block content, you're gonna have to put this code that we have actually copied. Let's refresh the page to see what is happening now. We don't have any error, and I'm just gonna refresh the page, and this is what you are seeing now. Our form, the form that we defined, has actually been replaced with this one. Okay, so I'm just gonna go into our code like this. But what I want you to understand is that here we have a row, and this row is divided into two. So this part is going to be the first section, and this part is also going to be the first section. So now we are going to concentrate on the general one. So I'm just going to comment all of this one, the budget part, out. So this is the first part because it has been divided into, the whole thing is going to be 12, and the first part is going to be 6. So when I collapse this one down, the next one is going to be this. So let me collapse this one also down and comment everything out. And then I'm going to open this one. So when I refresh the page, this is what you see. This part is gone, and now we are left with this part. So let's work on this particular part. So in this particular part, I'm also going to come down here and then collapse everything like this, and then comment everything out like that. So now that I have commented everything out, if I should refresh the page, this is what you're seeing. Okay, so I'm just gonna come down here and then I'm just gonna bring our form. So it's gonna be form like this, form, and save changes, refresh the page, and now we are seeing our form right here. So now we can also render the form dots as underscore p, and that is going to be rendering the form as a paragraph. Refresh the page, and this is what you are having. So if you look at it, the start date and then the end dates, the due date is actually not showing, but then we have the project name, we have the owner of the project that is picking everything from the users, and we also have the team. We have now created only one team. So there are a couple of modifications we want to do at this point. Okay, so I'm just gonna go into our forms and do the modification inside our form. So inside the forms.py forms, we have our forms here. So now if you look at the one of the modifications we want to do at this point is going to be the description. If you look at the description, it's very thick and we want it to be the thickness to be very small. So let's override some of this. So first of all, I'm just going to copy description here because that is what we want to override at this point. And we're going to say description is equal to forms dot, and we're going to say car field. Okay, so now that we have had a car field like this, we want to say widget, and the widget is going to be forms dot, and we are going to render it as a text area. So text area, and as we are rendering it as a text area, we want to provide some attributes. So we say attrs, and now we're going to provide a dictionary. So this dictionary is going to have a key and then a value. So the key of what we want to provide to the dictionary is going to be rules. And how many rules do we want to provide for our text area? So I'm just going to make it very small and say 3. So let me save changes, go back onto our dashboard, and when we refresh, it should now have only 3. So refresh, and now we are seeing just 3. Perfect. I'm also going to provide a placeholder, another key, and this key is going to be called placeholder. It's a placeholder, and now the placeholder is actually going to have this as our placeholder. And now we are going to say describe your project here. Okay, and we bring this 3 dots to be like a something long. And now we also want to save changes, refresh, and we're going to see the placeholder inside the text. Inside the text area says describe your project here. All right, so from there, we also want to provide a couple of attributes. So we're gonna give it a description, a label, and then the label at this point is gonna be say label, and the label is gonna be project description, project description. All right, so if you take a look at it right here, you're gonna realize that the label is description, but suppose you want to give it something different from the name of the field. So this is what you could do. You could provide a label and you say project description. So when you refresh, you're going to see that the label has been changed to project description. And another key thing we want to also provide is going to be whether it is compulsory to fill this field, this form, this field, and that is going to be required. So I'm going to say required, and required is going to be true at this point. Okay. All right. So let's also try to fix the issue with our date field. So there are a couple of ways you can fix this, but what I'm going to be doing at this point is to install a package, because this package comes with added advantages. So I'm just going to bring up my terminal, go to CMD, and at the CMD, I'm just going to use pip. So I'm going to say pip install, and what we're going to be installing is tempos underscore dominos like this, and click on enter. We're going to wait for it to be installed. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to do pip install, and there's going to be Django dash tempos dash dominos. dominus like this, and we wait for it to install. All right. So now it has successfully installed Tempos Dominus. And the next thing we're going to have to do is to add it to the installed app. So I'm just going to close this one, go into our project, swifthub like this, and settings. So at the very top here, I'm just going to make a comment and say third-party apps, and now we need to add tempos underscore dominus, tempos underscore dominus like this. Oh, sorry. So we also need to bring a comma here and save changes. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to close some of these things because we don't need them anymore, even the settings, and then we're going to have the form. So I have now opened the forms.py, and at the very top here, I just want to do an import. So we say from tempos underscore dominus imports, and we're going to import date picker like that. So date picker, it should be capital picker like that. Okay, so now that we have imported date picker, you're gonna have to work on these two. So you have start date and then due date. So first of all, I'm just gonna override the start date. So this, I have now copied it, and now I'm just gonna come at the top here and say start date. So the start date is gonna be equal to, say, forms dot, and we're gonna say date time field, forms dot date time field, and right here we're gonna pass our widget. So we're gonna say widget, and the widget is gonna be this time around the date picker we have. So we have the date picker, and then the date picker is also gonna have attrs like this. And now we're gonna have to provide a dictionary, and this dictionary is gonna have some attributes. The dictionary is gonna have a key and then the values. So the first key, actually gonna use single quotes. So the first key is gonna be append, and here we're gonna say, and we are going to use fa dash calendar like this. So essentially what we want to do is, at this point, we want to append that icon right here. Okay, so when we save changes, I don't think anything is going to happen. So I'm going to save changes and refresh. Okay, so let me see if our server is running. Oh, so I also made a mistake with this part from tempos dominus.widgets. So we have to provide widgets, and that's where we are going to import the date picker. So let me save changes, see if our server is running now. Everything is running just fine, and I'm just gonna refresh the page. And now when you come here, it has actually extended, and it has actually even shown that something has to be appended at this part, but we are not seeing anything. And that's because we also have to come onto our template, the base.html. So I'm gonna open the base.html. I'm gonna go to template base.html. Okay, so on the base.html, all right, so now on our template under the base.html, we have to include this. So you're gonna say form.media like this. Save changes, let's refresh and then see what happens. So nothing is happening, but we need to add one more thing, and that's, we now need to add our jQuery right here, because this is actually dependent on jQuery to work. So let me actually toggle into a full view like this, and now we are relying on jQuery. So even though we have jQuery in our javascript.html, but I have also realized that without putting a jQuery, this version of jQuery at the top here is not gonna work. So now that we have done this, let's save changes, go back to our page, and then try to refresh our page. So now we are seeing this. All right, okay, so now we can just click here and it's gonna show us the date, but we still have to work on this particular one right here. Okay, so let's go back onto our forms. So on the form, I'm also gonna bring a comma here, and we're gonna say icon underscore toggle, and we're gonna say true right here. I'm just gonna save changes, and then I'm just gonna refresh one more time. So now this is actually not showing, and let's inspect to see what is happening. So append FAO calendar is A right here. So let me save changes, refresh to see. And now we have it here. So calendar was spelled wrongly. Then I'm also just gonna copy this and then paste it right here. So that is gonna be for the due date. So we're gonna say due underscore date like this, sorry. Due underscore dates, and let me save changes and then refresh once more. And we also have the due date right here. So you can now select start date and then say due date. Okay. All right. Now we cannot actually submit because we have to wrap our entire, when you come here, we have to wrap everything in a form. Okay, so now to be able to submit our form, we need to actually wrap it in a form. So I'm just gonna create a form here, and we're gonna say method is gonna be, the method is actually gonna be post method. So we're gonna say post, and also we also gonna have action. So the action is gonna be pointing to this same place. So we're gonna use dot, and now we have to close our form like this. So I'm just gonna scroll to the bottom here, and then I'm gonna wrap it in a form. So I'm just gonna do form, and then I'm just gonna close the form like this. Okay, so now let's save changes, refresh our app once more, and then let's try to input a name. So we're gonna say name is gonna be create, let's say create a YouTube video. So create YouTube video, and then the owner of the project. As of now, we are just going to select it, but in future videos, we're gonna make sure this user is set based on the logged in user. And then the team, now we only have one team here, and it's gonna be the Python team. And now you're going to say create YouTube videos like this. All right, so from here, we're also gonna select a to-do, a status, and the status is gonna be in progress. And then the priority is gonna be medium at this point. And now the start date is gonna be today's date. And then the due date is gonna be maybe 2 days from now. And I'm gonna hit on create project right here. So let's see. And now we are seeing forbidden. And that's because we have not added a CSRF token. Good. So now we're gonna have to come down here in our forms. Then where we have the form creator, you're gonna bring this and say CSRF token, and now we have included our CSRF token. All right, so I'm just gonna wait for, okay, so you see the error we have right here, CSRF token is missing. All right, okay. Let me go back to the page again and create a new project. So we're gonna say create YouTube videos, and it's gonna be on Gentech, and the team is gonna be the Python team. So create YouTube videos like this, and we're also gonna select in progress, and it's gonna be medium like this. The start date is gonna be today, and then the end date is gonna be on the 10th, and I'm gonna hit on create project. And now it has successfully created a project. Because today is 8th and we selected 2 days from now, that is on 10th, we are now seeing that this is in the next 2 days. The due date is gonna be in the next 2 days. All right, guys, see you in the next video. All right, guys, so welcome back. So now let's take a look at our template. Actually, it's going to inform how we are going to do things over here. So I'm just gonna go back into our template, and here I'm gonna scroll down to this section where we have the budget. So I'm just gonna remove these comments right here and then scroll down to the end and then remove the comments right here. So if I should save changes and then refresh, this is what we are seeing. Now we are seeing this part, and we are also seeing the budget section. This budget section are fields that we have not added to our models yet, but when we add it to the model, it's also going to be added to our forms. And when we call form like this on our page, form like this, then it's actually going to list all the fields right away that way. And in that case, we are not going to have the ability to control so that we can have the budget fields right here. So actually, I'm just going to go back and then on comment out this one like this. And here, this is where the problem is coming from. I'm just going to comment this one out. And where we have actually commented the general parts out, I'm just going to go down and remove the comments just to have it the way, just to have it like how the template was. Okay, so now we have actually commented this section out. So now we have project name, project description, and all that. And what we're going to be doing is to accept these fields from our form, but not actually using the form as the entire form on the page. So now I could come to where we have the project name. Here, I'm just going to comment this one out, and then we'll come back here and then do form dot, and then I'm just gonna go to my forms, and we're gonna realize that our form is having a name. So I'm gonna copy the name and then paste it over here, save changes, refresh the page, and this is what you're seeing. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm just gonna go copy this and then do for the rest of the field. So the next field is gonna be the owner field right here. So I'm just gonna come here and then we'll say, okay, so let me copy. I'm gonna copy this one here and then paste it right underneath. And I'm just going to do form.owner. So you're gonna have owner right here and owner, and we're gonna do form.owner like that. So from there, we're also gonna have the project description. So the project description is also gonna have, this is gonna be a test area. I'm gonna remove it and do form.description. Again, is also coming from our forms right here. We have description, and even before description, we had theme. So I could also copy and then do theme. So I'm gonna copy this and paste it right here and do form.theme. So we have theme right here, and then from the theme, we also gonna be having. So now that we have done theme, so I have to change this one to theme. Okay. Okay, so from there, we're also going to be having the status. So I'm just going to leave the status like this and then comment out this, the whole of this. So I'm just going to remove it and do form dots, and it's going to be status like that. So this is client company. It's a field that we're going to be relying on. We have not added it to the model yet. So let me just comment that part out. And from there, we're also going to be having the priority. So I'm just going to copy the status and then also put form.priority. So we're going to have priority like that. And it's going to be form.priority. So let's check on our model to see if there is a priority field. Yes, there is a priority field. And from priority, we're also going to have the start date and then the end date and all of that. So when you come here, we could actually utilize one of these and say start dates. So we're going to have start dates, and it's going to be form.start date. So let me do that. Form.start underscore date, and I'm also just gonna copy it once more, and then we're gonna have form dot due date. So due date is gonna be form dot due underscore date, like that. So from here, let's save changes and see what happens. So I'm just gonna refresh the page like this, and now we are seeing the start date, sorry, the name of the project, the owner, the description, and everything the way we want it. Everything is actually working. Now let's go into our model and add one more field. So I'm just gonna go into the model like this. So here we have model, and inside the model, we're going to add another field on the project model. So on the project model, so where we have the description, under the description, I'm just going to do client underscore company. And it's going to be models.car field. It's going to be models.car field. And here we're going to have to provide max underscore length, and then the max underscore length is going to be 255. All right, so let's give it something smaller. So let's say 100 for the client company. And also we're also going to say blank is equal to true. So by default, you're going to accept null, and null is also equal to true, like this, like that. So now that we have actually done this, we have to save changes, bring up our terminal, and I'm just gonna make migration. So Python manage.py make migrations like this, and Python manage.py migrate like that. All right, so now migrations has been made. Okay, so now that we have successfully made the migrations, we could now come to this place where we have the description, and then we're gonna bring a comma right here, and now we could do client underscore company like that. And now that we have client underscore company, we can come to our HTML here, and we could now accept it. So I'm just gonna uncomment this one out, and we're gonna have client company, and that is gonna be forms, form.client underscore company like this. Let me save changes, refresh the page to see if it's actually gonna reflect. And now we have client company, and client company is not showing. Let me see if, and that's because we didn't save our form. Okay, so now that we have saved the form, refresh, and client company should now appear right here. Okay, so now we want to be using crispy form to style our forms or our fields. It's actually going to make sure that we apply bootstrap and everything to it. So here, I'm just going to open the terminal like this and write Python. Sorry, we're going to use pip to install. So we say pip install, and here we install Django -crispy -forms like that, like forms. And it's gonna go ahead and then install crispy forms into our virtual environment. So now it has successfully installed this version of crispy form. And then there is another package we need to install. So pip install, and now we are going to install crispy -bootstrap 5. So we actually going to be using bootstrap 5 in this. So we wait for it to install. Pip install crispy -bootstrap. Oh, the spelling is quite wrong. Bootstrap 5. Okay, so now let's install it. And now Bootstrap 5 is now installed. So, okay, so now that we have successfully installed these two packages, let's add it to our requirement.txt. So we're going to say pip freeze, and we're going to freeze it to the requirement.txt like this, and it's going to add it to our requirement.txt. So now when we open our requirement.txt, it's going to have this crispy form, and then it's going to have all of them right here. Okay, so now I can just close it, and now we have to go on to, let me close the model like this. We don't need it. The base, we also don't need it. The view, actually we're not going to need the view as of this point. So now I could come into the swifthub, come into the settings, and now we need to add crispy form to our installed apps. So here, let's add crispy form. So we're gonna say crispy underscore forms like this, and then I'm gonna bring a comma and then add crispy underscore bootstrap 5 like that. Bootstrap. Okay, so now we need to bring comma to this part. Okay, so from here we're also gonna have to come down. Okay, so having done this, we're gonna have to scroll down to the bottom of our page where we have the media files, and we can now add crispy form template tags. So I'm gonna make a comment and say crispy form template tags like this, and here I have to define them. So one is gonna be crispy underscore allowed underscore template underscore packs. So that is actually going to be bootstrap 5. So we're gonna say bootstrap 5. So you're gonna be using bootstrap 5 here, and then the next thing is gonna be crispy underscore template underscore pack, and that is also gonna be bootstrap 5 like this. So I'm just gonna do is equal to bootstrap 5. Okay, so now let's save changes. And now that we have done this, we're gonna go onto our project create, and on the project create, I'm gonna go up to the very top here, and now I'll have to load crispy template tags. So I'm just gonna do load, and now we are not loading static, but we're gonna be loading crispy, or lowercase crispy underscore forms underscore tags like this. And now that we have successfully loaded crispy form tags like this, we're gonna go to where we have our fields, and wherever we have our fields, so instead of doing form.name, we're gonna now do this pipe, and then we're gonna do as underscore crispy underscore field like this. So I'm just gonna copy this pipe underscore crispy for all the fields that we have actually done. Come here, go to description, and for team, we're also gonna do the same thing for team status. All right, so now that we have done for all, I'm just gonna save and then try to check to see if my server is actually running, and there's nothing happening right here. So I'm just gonna refresh, and now it's actually telling us that load, so invalid tag on line 2, that is load. Okay, so it's had to be now capital D but smaller d like this, so smaller d like this. Save changes and check my distance. Okay, so let me close this and run python money.py run server. Server is spelled wrong. Python money.py run server. And now that our server, now that our server is running, I'm just gonna refresh the page, and now we are seeing that there's been a couple of changes. So before, our name was just halfway, it was up to this part, but now we are seeing it to be all across. So some of the fields are being affected. For example, the name is being affected positively, the description is also working correctly, but then the team, to do, the status, and then some of the few fields are actually not working the way it is. And we are also going to realize that we have project name and then the name. Where we have owner, we also have owner. So the labels are appearing multiple. And that's because when you come into our template, we have project name. And this actually is what I want to maintain. I actually want to customize the name. So the template is actually giving me the name that I want, but by default, it's actually going to pick the name of the field. So description is just going to appear as description. So if you want something other than the name of the field for our label, then we're going to have to do it like this. So what I'm going to be doing is to customize some few of the fields that we have on our forms. So I'm just going to open the forms, and then I'm just going to copy the description, because description has been worked on. The only thing we have to work on the description is the name. So here we are actually giving it a label is equal to project description. But what I could do at this point is to say label is equal to false. So I'm going to do false right here, save changes, refresh the page, and one of these labels should be gone. So now we have project description. Okay, so once I have actually copied the name, I'm just going to paste it right here, and we're going to have name. So the name is something that we now want to actually customize. So we have forms.car field, and it's not actually a text field, text area. So it's actually going to be a text input right here. So form.text underscore input like that. And now we're going to have the attribute is going to be, we don't need this, but we're going to need a key called class. So we're going to have class, and then the class is actually going to be having a value of form dash control like this. Okay, so we bring a comma here, and what we're essentially doing is that we want to apply a class of form dash control to the text input. Okay, so we have form dash control. So I don't even think this one is even important on this particular one, because Crispy Form is actually doing that for us. So let me refresh the page, and now, okay. So we also need to remove this label right here. That is what is actually confusing us. So remove the label, and now we're going to have, instead of describe your project here, we're going to say enter the name of your project here. So you're going to say enter the name of your project here. All right. So let me save changes, refresh, and you're going to see what I'm talking about in a minute. So refresh. And now we have project name and then the name right here. But then you're seeing that we have entered the name of project here. So that means we have to also come here, and instead of doing required is equal to true, we also have to bring label. So the label is going to be false. So we don't need a label here. But now we're going to be relying on the label here, which is the project name. Let me refresh. And now we have project name. So for the owner, we also have to do the same thing for owner. So I'm going to come to the forms here, and let's modify the owner. Okay, so at this point, we're going to say owner, and then the owner is going to be forms. So that's going to be forms dot model choice field. Okay, so model choice field. And what we're going to be doing, or what we're going to be essentially passing, is going to be a query set, and then the query set is going to be user dot, since the owner is going to be a user on our platform, we want to list all the users on the system. So we want to populate them in a drop down so that the person can actually select the owner. Again, we are going to automate this part so that the logged in user is going to be by default the owner of the project that has been created. But for now, we're going to say project.objects objects.filter. So after we have gotten this, we want to filter, and we're going to filter by is underscore active, and we want to select the ones that have active to be true like this. Okay, so that means that we also need to import user from here. So we're going to come to the top and say from django.contrib.auth.models import, and we're going to import user right here. So now that we have user imported, we are now using the user at this point. Okay, so from here we're also going to have, let's put a comma here, and we could have widgets, and widget is actually going to be forms dot select. So it's something that we want to select, so it's going to be like a drop down. So select, and here we're going to provide this argument. So first of all, we're gonna say attr, that is the attribute attrs is going to be, so here we also need to provide the keys of this dictionary. So the key for this one is just gonna be, we need to provide the key. So the key for this is actually gonna be class, and then the class actually is gonna have a value of, and it's gonna be form dash control like this. So let me save changes. Also the label, we don't want a label, so we're gonna depend on the label that came with the template. So the owner has a label right here, so you're gonna say label is equal to false, so we don't need a label for that. And required, so each project should have an owner, so required, and required is also gonna be true. Okay, I'm gonna save changes, go to my terminal, and it says Django.forms has no attribute. Select. Did you mean select? Yes, it has to be capital S. So select. So all right. So select, save changes, and check to see if the terminal is running. Okay, so everything is fine. I'm just gonna refresh. And now we have team. Sorry. Now we have owner is equal to this. It doesn't seem like it is being affected. Oh, the spelling of owner is also wrong. O-W-N-E-R. So let's save changes. Check the terminal to see. All right, everything is okay. So I'm just gonna refresh the page, and now we are seeing the owner to be like this. The next, we have actually done the description. Let's go to teams. So team is also gonna be like this. So I'm just gonna have to copy this, and then I'm just gonna paste it here, and then say team. So team, okay. So it's also going to be forms.model choice field, but this time around, the query is not gonna be user, but rather it's gonna be team. So we have to import team. So we say from teams.model import, and we're gonna import team right here. So now that team is imported, I can now use team over here, and the query is gonna be team.objects.all. So we're gonna pick all. Now we don't need to filter, but objects.all like that. Now that we have gotten, so we say form dash control. Here the label, we also don't need it, and it's also required. So I'm gonna save changes, come back to the page. This is now the team. Let me refresh, and now we are seeing team to also be working now. Okay, so now let's work on the status. I'm just gonna come down here and then say status. We want to override the status or customize it. So we're gonna say forms dots, and this time around it's gonna be choice field. All right, so this one is actually gonna accept argument choices, and the choices is actually going to be a choices field that we have actually set up. So I'm just gonna go into the project models. Inside the project models, remember we set up choices. So I'm just gonna cut everything right here, and then I'm just gonna go into the project app and create another file called utils.py. Okay, so inside the utils.py, I'm just gonna put everything right here, save changes. Then I'm just gonna come to the models, and where we actually cut everything, I'm gonna say from .utils import, and we're gonna say status choices, and we also need to import priority choices like that. Now I could copy everything right here and then send it to forms, and I'm just gonna do paste it here, but good. So I'm just gonna paste it right here. So I'm gonna scroll down to where we have the choices, and now we could just pick status underscore choices. That is going to be our choices. I'm gonna bring a comma here, then come to the next line, and we're gonna provide a widget. So the widget is actually gonna be forms.select. So I'm just gonna go here and then copy everything right here, and then put it for the widget like that. So we have the widgets, like this. So let's save changes and refresh to see what is happening. Okay. And now we have status is going to be to do, in progress, and then completed. Okay. So from there, we're also going to be working on the priority. So let's go to priority, and I'm going to copy this because the hard work has already been done already. So come here, paste it, and then we say priority. So priority like this. And now when we do choices, it's going to be priority underscore choices like that. And it's also going to have the form dash control, because when you visit the page, you're going to realize that, look at the length, it's just so small. So you want to expand it to this part. That's why we are using form dash control over here. So let me refresh, and we also see priority stretch all the way to this place. All right. So from there, we're also going to have to go to the client company, but I'm just going to move the client company on top of the status so that the status and the priority will come down like this. So I'm just going to go into the template, and where we have the client company right here, I'm just going to cut it like this. And at the very top of the status where we have teams, I'm just going to put it right here. And let me save changes to see what we have at the moment. And we have client company. Okay, so now let's work on the client company on the forms. Okay, so for the client company, I'm gonna write client underscore company like this, and that is gonna be equal to forms dot car field like this. And here is going to accept a label, and the label is going to be false. We don't need to give it a label. And required, so required is going to be true because we want it to be compulsory, like you can't skip it. So let me save changes, refresh, and now client company is having it like that. So we are seeing client company. It doesn't seem like the label is actually client. Okay, so there has to be a T here. And we have client company like this. So actually, we are not going to do the widgets. We are not going to add the widgets or the attribute, the class or form dash control, because this time around, Crispy Form is actually handling that for us. But when you scroll down, the few issues we have at the moment is the start date is repeated, and then the due date is also repeated. So I'm gonna have to scroll down to where we have start dates like this, and at the very top here, I can do label is equal to false. And we're also gonna say required is equal to true. So it's compulsory for them to fill. And I'm gonna bring a comma right here. Sorry, I'm gonna bring a comma right here. So I'm also gonna scroll down to where we have the due date, and we're gonna say label is equal to true, and then required is also called label should be false right here. So label is equal to false, and then required is gonna be true like this. And now we could save changes, and hopefully everything should be the way it is. So now we don't have anything like that right here. So now that we have actually modified our form like this, let's create one more project to see. So the project that I'm going to be creating is going to be create a logo. It doesn't seem like a name for a project, but that's what I have selected for now. The owner is going to be Gentech. The description is create a nice logo with, say, Canva. Okay. Right from there, the team is going to be Python team, and the client company is going to be Gentech like this. And right from there, to do, we will say it's completed or probably in progress. Right, in progress. And then the start date is gonna be today, and then the due date, actually we want it to be done today. And now we can click on save project, add new project, and now we have create a logo, the Python theme. And since we selected that the due date is going to be today, this is what we have right here. All right, guys. So if you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment in the comment section. And I'm just going to see you in the next video. Bye-bye. All right, guys. So welcome back. So now we need to add our budget first. But for now, some of these things, I don't need them. Settings, I'm just going to also close it. Project creates, I'm just going to be going on to it. But for now, we're going to be concentrating on the models for now. Okay, so now I'm just going to be at the start date at where we have the prior. Okay, let me be at where we have the priority. And now we are going to be adding our budget first. Like we're going to be adding our budget first. So I'm going to say budget details here. All right, guys. So now let's add the budget details. So you're going to say total underscore amount, and that is actually going to be models dot, that is going to be decimal field. So for the decimal field, we're going to provide max underscore digits, and that is going to be 12 right here. So we're going to provide 12, and we also want to have decimal underscore places, and that is going to be 2 decimal places. From the decimal places, we're also going to add blank is equal to true. So by default, when we create a project, we don't need to, it's not compulsory to add the total amount, and we also don't need to. Yes, so now it's also going to be true by default. Sorry. Okay. I'm just going to copy this for the total amount, and I'm also going to paste it right here. So from the total amount, we're going to have amount spent. So we say amount underscore spent, and that is going to be models dot decimal field, and that one is also going to have 12 digits, and the decimal places is going to be true, and that will also not be compulsory to actually add when the project is created. You could even add a default so that it can start from 0. So if you want to add a default value, so we're going to say default is going to be 0.00, and we bring a comma here, and that is when we add a default to it. And then the last one is going to be estimated duration. So we're going to have, let me collapse it like this, and we're going to have estimated underscore estimated duration, and estimated duration is going to be models dot, that is going to be integer field like this. And now we need to pass, okay, it's not actually going to be compulsory to fill, so it's going to be blank is equal to true, and null is also going to be equal to true like this. And I also want to pass a helper underscore text that is to describe what we actually doing or what the field is for. We can leave it blank, we can also add it, but I want to show you how the helper text is actually passed. And so the helper text is going to have estimated duration in days. So that means whatever you are passing is gonna be in days. So now that we have this, I'm just gonna save changes and try to bring my terminal up. So I'm gonna switch to this terminal. Okay, let me see. Everything is running just fine. So I'm gonna switch to this terminal and type Python manage.py, make migrations. And now this is going to create a migration file. So here you see added an amount spent, estimated duration, and then the total amount. Okay, so from here I could now do Python manage.py migrate, and that is going to write the changes into our database. So now this migration has been applied, and now when we go into our admin and refresh my page, I could now click on any of the projects, and you're going to realize that we have total amount, then the amount spent, and then the estimated duration. We don't want to be controlling everything from here. We want to give the users of SwiftHub the ability to add the budget details to their own project from the front end right here. So what we're going to be doing at this point is to, close the terminal right here, go into the forms, and we're going to do this modification to the forms right here. So I'm just going to scroll down. Okay, so even for the forms underscore, like the fields, we need to actually add these three fields, extra three fields to it. If you see that it is actually stretching over the whole screen, you can even come down, bring it down like this. Let me do that so that we can even see everything in one go. So I'm just gonna collapse, do all these things here, and this one actually looks neat. Okay, from here, let me add this extra first. So we're gonna have, let me go to the model, and we have total amount. So I'm gonna come here and then add total amount right there, bring a comma, and then the next one is gonna be amount spent. Okay, so we come here and then we add amount spent right here. After the amount spent, we also gonna need to add the last one, and that is gonna be the estimated duration. So I'm gonna come and then add estimated duration. So from here, I could now save changes, go back to create project, and I'm gonna scroll to where we did the comments. So I'm just gonna uncomment this one out. Okay, then come down and then uncomment this one out right here. So when we save changes and refresh, we are actually gonna see, okay, so I'm gonna come and then do projects and projects create right here. Okay, so here now we are seeing this, but these are not coming from our Django form. So we need a way to pass our Django forms right here. So I would come to the budget details, scroll down where we have this input. I'm just going to do form. So that is going to be form dot, not forms, but form dot, and that is going to be the amount spent. Okay, so I'm going to come here, copy amount spent, and then estimated budget. Okay, that is not amount spent. That is going to be total. Okay, so that is total amount right here. So I'm just going to put total amount, forms the total amount. And then the next one, I'm going to copy this once again, come to where we have the total amount spent, and that is going to be coming from the model to amount spent like this. Copy it and then paste it over here. And then the last one is gonna be, comment this one as we can actually delete them because we're not gonna have a need for them anymore. So we have form dot, and the last one is actually gonna be estimated duration. So I'm gonna copy and paste estimated duration right here, and then refresh the page. All right, so this is what we are seeing for the estimated, the budget details. So all these things is actually going to work right here like that. Okay, but let's start these things inside of our form. So I'm just going to open the forms, come to any of the free spaces here. I'm just going to come down to this place, and I'm just going to copy the field. So it's actually total amount. So I'm gonna copy total amount. That is the name of the field. Now I could do forms dot, and it's gonna be decimal field right here. So for the decimal field, we're gonna provide few arguments. So first, we want the label to be false. Okay, so now that we have label to be false, we also want required to be false, because we want our people, we want users to be able to create a project without budget details. Even on the model, it is not compulsory to fill it. So I'm just gonna make it false right here. Okay, so now that we have done this, let me save changes, and then we're gonna see what happens when we refresh the page. So it doesn't seem like any physical change has happened, and that's because when we come here, we also need to add crispy underscore fill to this one to make it look nicer. So I'm gonna come to this part, scroll down, and wherever we have a field, I'm gonna add a crispy underscore field like this, and then the last one is going to be on the duration. I'm going to save changes right here, and then we're going to also refresh our app, and this is what you are seeing. All right, so now estimated budget is the label name, and that's because we have actually come into the form and we said label is equal to 4. But for the rest of the budget details, we have total amount spent, and we also have amount spent and estimated project duration, and we also have estimated duration. And then we are also seeing duration in this. That is the helper text. But now we need to modify or customize our fields to exclude some of the text, some of the labels. So I'm gonna come here and copy this one and paste it twice. So paste it again. And now the first one is not gonna be total amount, but it's gonna be amount spent. Amount underscore spent like this. And then the next one is gonna be the estimated duration, like we have estimated underscore duration, like that. Save changes. Now we could come back to our form, refresh, and all these ones should be gone. So now on the page we refresh and all these ones are now gone. So now let's create a project and add the budget details to see if the budget details are going to be added. So we want to create a project, and the name of the project is going to be, I don't know, how should we call it? It's going to be create an admin dashboard. Okay, let's say this is a project we are working on, and then the owner is going to be Gentech, and the description, I'm just going to copy the name of the project and then paste it for description. I'm going to paste it twice, and then the team is going to be the Python team. Client company is going to be X company, and from there the status, I'm just going to put it at completed. It doesn't make sense to put it at completed. Okay, let me make it to do, and the priority is going to be high. The end date is going to be maybe on the 11th, and then the start date is going to be today. So the budget details, I just want to say the whole budget is going to be $15 to complete this entire project. And now let's say we have spent $10 out of the $15, and then the estimated day is going to be, let's say, 4 days. Now we click on create project, and now we have create admin dashboard, and we have the team, and then due in, and it's going to be due in 2 days. Even though I stated that the number of days to spend on the project is going to be 4 days. Let me come here and refresh, come to create admin dashboard, and we said 4 days, but that is not what is being displayed. It's actually doing the calculation from today is 8th, and it's going to be due in on the 11th, and that is 3 days. So what we actually did, the estimated day is not what is reflecting here, because it's actually doing its own calculation. So later we will find a way to actually make sure that this number of days is equal to this number of days right here. But we have actually complete the aim of this section. We have actually been able to create a project, and we have added the budget fields to it. Okay, so now let's go back to the project here on the sidebar. So I'm gonna come and then Control P to come to this part, and I'm gonna search for sidebar like this. So sidebar.html. I'm gonna scroll down to where we have projects. So Control A to search for projects like this, and we have all projects. So projects, all projects, and then add project. Okay, so now this is what we want to add a URL. So I'm just gonna come here and do URL like this, and it's gonna be in projects create. Okay, so what I'm actually doing is to come into the swifthub project and go to URLs, and the namespace is project, and that's what we are providing for this part. But the name of the view we are actually linking this one to is gonna be in the project itself, and inside the URLs we have create. So now everything is working good. I'm gonna come here and then refresh, and we have no error. So when I click here, go to add project, and it's going to bring us to where we create our project. In the previous video, we were able to create our own project from the dashboard. So we were able to add the budget details and all that. So looking at this side is the owner of the project, and the owner of the project has to be the logged in user. The person who has actually logged in is being authenticated and now is the logged in user should be the person to create a project. So, but the way we have it set up is that the user has to click and then select his or her name. And chances are that this person can actually create a project in some other person's name. So that's not what we want. The way we want it is that the person should be authenticated, and right after that, this field shouldn't even be shown on the forms, and the system is actually going to pick it behind the scene, and then we're going to create a project in the logged in user's name. So I'm just going to have to come here and go to where we have the form. So I'm just gonna look for owner. So here I'm just gonna comment this one out, and you're also gonna realize that we imported user because of this owner, and now that we are not going to be using the owner, we can also comment this one out. But now we cannot create a project because on the model a project should have an owner, and the owner is not null, so we cannot create a project without this. All right, so now I can just come here, close this URL. I also don't need a model. The sidebar, I'm not gonna need a sidebar, but what I'm gonna need is the views for the project. So I'm gonna come into the views, and what we have to do at this point is to overwrite one of the methods for the create view. So I'm gonna come down here and say define a function, and I'm gonna call it form underscore valid like this. This is actually a function that we want to override. So this function is actually by default gonna accept self or the instance, and then it's also gonna accept a form. Okay, so now that we have this, we want to get a project. So project is going to be the project we are going to save into our database, and that is going to be form.save. So here we don't want to straight away save the project into the database, so we're going to say commit is actually going to be equal to false. So here we are just going to pause on saving the data into the database so that we can add or customize some few things. So project is going to be form.save. When we save the form, that is the project we are going to get. But we have now paused on saving the project into the database. Okay, so now that we have the project object right here, we can do project.owner. Owner is spelled like this. Project.owner is going to be solve.request.user. So what essentially we are doing is that we actually want to say that the owner of the project. So when we come into the model, we are saying each project should have an owner. So the person who is actually creating the project, and we are saying that the owner of the project should be equal to solve.request.user. So we are going to get the logged in user for this part. And now that we have actually set the owner of the project is equal to the logged in user, then now we can say project dot, and we can say save like that, and we have now saved the project. So this will actually save the project. Now that we have saved the project, we need to return, and what we're going to be returning is a redirect. So redirect, and we're going to redirect to self.success underscore URL. So we have actually defined the success URL that if upon successful creation of a project is going to redirect us to this part, and that is what we have done. So we're going to redirect self.success URL. And now we need to import redirect. So we're going to do from Django.shortcuts import, and we're going to import redirect. So here we don't even need render over here, but we need redirect like this. So let me save changes, and let's check to see our terminal if we have an error. It doesn't seem like we have an error, but now I'm just going to refresh, and this part should be gone. So refresh, and we don't have the owner. Okay, so that means I should also come onto the project create dashboard here, and where we have the owner, let me check for owner, and the owner is right here. So I'm just gonna delete this part from it, save changes, and I'm just gonna refresh once again, and now that part should be gone. So now let's create a project with that an owner, and let's see whether it's gonna set the authenticated user as the logged in as the project owner. So here I'm just gonna give a project name like create let's say create videos and audio as a project name. And then I'm also just gonna copy this and paste it here and twice. And the team is gonna be the Python team. The company is gonna be Gentech, like that. And from there, we're gonna say it's in progress. In fact, for this one, I'm gonna do completed. I know it doesn't really make sense to start a project that has actually been completed, but that's what I'm gonna do right here. And the priority is gonna be medium. Start date is gonna be today, and it's gonna end in 4 days time. And now the budget detail actually isn't compulsory to add budget detail, and I want to prove that one to you. So I'm just gonna leave this part blank and click on create project. So hopefully, okay. All right, so I'm gonna click on create projects, and it's not creating. So let's go back and check what could be causing this. Okay, so in the form, we have actually commented owner out, but we are also providing owner in the list right here. So owner is here. So that means we have to take out the owner because we don't need it in the form. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go back, but before, let me check if my server is running, and the server is running. So I'm just gonna come here and click on create, and now the project is created. Create videos and audios, and we have the Python team, and now we have it right here. Okay. All right, guys. So now we need to, if you scroll down here, we are seeing the notifications right here, and you are seeing that this person, actually the logged in user, that's myself, has 2 notifications, and these are the notifications. But when you scroll up right here and you're seeing 15 notifications, that is not true. It's not actually reflecting what we have right here. And also when you click on that, the notifications we are seeing at this part is actually different from this. And that's because this is actually coming from the templates. So I'm just gonna go here and scroll down to where we have our template. So inside the template, I'm just gonna go to the nav bar where we have the nav bar. So I'm just gonna close this one. I don't need it. And I'm just gonna scroll to where we have the notifications. All right, so what we are seeing is now coming from the template. So I'm just gonna wrap this one around this and pick it from our context. So I'm just gonna go into the view for our dashboard. That will be in accounts, and inside the accounts you are having notification count. So I'm just gonna copy notification count, and I'm just gonna put it right here inside there. And when you come here, we also seeing that, and that is also gonna be picking the notification from here. So now I could save changes, and now I'm just gonna refresh the page right here. So when I refresh, you are seeing 2, and that is actually reflecting what we have over here. But now we need to also pass the list of the notification. These 2 notifications has to be passed to this side. Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll down, and now we are seeing we have about 3 notifications over there. We have 3 notification, 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so I'm just gonna come here, and the first notification is gonna be this. Let me push this one down a little bit. And okay, so we have a divider right here, and the notification is gonna be this part. Okay, so I'm just gonna, and there is another divider right here. So I'm just gonna come down and leave this divider. Then here, I'm just gonna collapse this, and even the divider itself, and I'm just gonna delete everything. So when I refresh the page, you're actually going to be seeing only one notification, and that's exactly what we want, this notification. Okay, so back into our views we are having, so I'm just going to go into the account views, and we are having latest notification that is being passed to the context. All right, so when I come here to the one notification that we have at this place, I'm just going to wrap this one in a for loop. So I'm going to do for right here, and we're going to say notification, and we're going to have latest notification. So I'm just going to come and then cut this and come to the down of the divider, and I'm just going to put it right here. So here I need to actually indent it like that, and from there we need to get the notification. So this is actually going to be notification dot verb, and we also don't want the notification to be longer, the number of words, so we have to truncate the character. So we also gonna do dot verb, and we bring a pipe here, and we're gonna say truncate car, and we're gonna provide slice 25 like this. So that is gonna be the number of characters we want to show, and from there we also gonna show the time. So that is gonna be notification dot, okay, let me wrap this one up like this, and we're gonna do notification dot created underscore art, and that is gonna be when the notification is actually created. So now let's save changes and see what happens. So I'm gonna refresh, and hopefully we're gonna see all our notifications here. So it will just count 25 characters, and the rest is gonna be dot 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 like that. Okay, so now see all notification. We have not implemented it yet, so we're gonna wait until when we have actually implemented it. So this is how we are going to display the notification on the nav bar. Perfect. Now the issue is when we are on the main dashboard, we are seeing the notifications, but when we come onto this page where we are adding project, we don't see notification. And the reason is we have to pass the notification as a context to the front end, and when you come to project create, we do not have the context over here. All right, so now we need to override the get context data. So I'm gonna say def and then get underscore context text underscore data like this, and it's actually gonna accept self. Then we also gonna accept keyword args like this. Okay, so now that we have this, we need to define the notification. So I'm gonna make a comment and say latest notification patients like this. So what I'm essentially gonna do is to go back to where we have the dashboard, and I'm just gonna pick all the notifications right here. So let me even make when the person is authenticated, it's not gonna do all these things. So I'm just gonna come here and then paste this right here. So we say if request the user dot is authenticated, then we're gonna say latest notification is equal to notification dot object dot for user. But now we don't want to get all the notifications of this user. This actually is gonna return all notifications, whether the notification is read or not. So we're gonna do dot on read, and that is gonna give us notification that has not been read. I'm just gonna go here, copy this, and go into accounts, and we also have to rectify that we get only notification that is not read. All right, so we did if the request the user. So here I'm just gonna have to do self.request.user is authenticated. So this is something that we are going to fix when we do when we work on authentication. There's going to be a full part for this one, and that is going to fix all of these ones. So we now have notification, but we need to import notification. So we do from notifications.models we're gonna import, and we import notification, not manager, but notification itself like this. And now we're gonna have to return the context. So we're gonna say return, and now we return context like this. And now that context is returned, I'm gonna also have to come here and then save changes. I'm just gonna go back. Now I'm just gonna go to add projects, click on that, and it is saying that request is not defined. So let me check where we have that issue. And here I also need to pass self, because we don't directly have access to request. So self dot request. So let me save changes, see if the server is up and running, and the server is running. So I'm just gonna refresh, and it's saying context is not defined. So let me check. All right, that's true. So here we are using context and we are returning context, but we have not defined context. So I'm gonna define context right here. So context is equal to, and we're gonna say super. So you're gonna call the parent class, and this time the parent class is gonna be project create. So we put it right here, and we're also gonna pass self to it. And now that we have gotten this, we're gonna call the context of this parent class. We do get underscore context data, and we pass the keyword ask like this. All right, so I'm just gonna save changes, see if my server is actually running, and the server seems to be running very well. I'm just gonna refresh the page, and hopefully everything should work. And now, even on the project create view, we have our notifications showing. I could also go back to the dashboard, which is going to be on this URL, and still notification is showing. All right, guys, welcome back. All right, so now I'm just gonna close all these ones. I don't need them anymore. All right, so right after this, what we're gonna be doing at this point is to come back to our dashboard. And now you are seeing this. Now you are seeing the navigation bar. So the navigation bar is just going to be on almost all our pages. It's just going to be on every page. And once it is going to be on every page, we are also seeing that we have notifications. That means that each page, each view is going to have to import notification, and each view is just going to have to run the notification. So we can actually optimize our code a little bit. So I'm just going to go into the notification models here, and let's override some of this. Let's make modification to some of the model manager. So now we are having notification that for user. I'm just gonna comment out that. So once I comment that one out, I'll also have to come here because we don't have access to it anymore. So I'm just gonna delete this one and then clear everything. So now we're gonna have self.filter, and we're gonna filter, and you're gonna pick where notification is equal to false. So I'm just also gonna take out user. We don't need to pass user to it. Okay. So essentially what I'm doing is, when you come into the notification models, we have recipient, and the recipient is of the user instance. And we are saying that if you get a recipient, you can now do, or if you get a recipient that is a user instance, you can now do that user dot notification, and it's actually going to give you the notification for that particular user. That is the power of related name. So we don't need to specifically pass a user to any of our model methods. So that means I can also take out this, and now I'm just going to copy this and replace it with this one. So the red is actually going to be true. So now that we have actually done this, I can just save changes. Okay, so now I can just go into the account views. Sorry, I'm just gonna go into account views and then look for the dashboard view. So now you're gonna realize that we are importing notification here. We don't need to import notifications anymore. And now I'm gonna scroll down. So I just have to delete this because we have actually commented out the import. And now what we can do is to do request.user.notification. So when we do request.user, so it is going to actually be in the user model. And now that we have gotten the user model, we can do .notification. So I'm going to copy that one and paste it over here. And we don't need to do dot object, so I'm gonna clear that one out. And also we don't also need to do dot for user, but rather we are going to do dot on read like this, and we don't need to pass request dot user, because if you come to the model, we have taken out that parameter from the function, so we are now not accepting this. I'm just gonna copy this and come to the project create view. So I'm just gonna look for project, and I'm gonna go into the views like this. And now we are doing latest notification, and we are doing notification.object. So we need to even comment out this import or probably delete it. And now I could actually paste this one. But you can now do request the user notification dot on read. But if you realize, if you look at this part, we don't have access to request. So you're gonna do surf dot request the user dot notifications like that. And now I can save changes, check to see if my terminal is running and everything seems to be working. Now I'm just gonna refresh to see if there is an error, and now we are getting access to these notifications. Okay, so I'm also gonna go to create post, and now we have access to the same notification, two notification. What I will be doing right now is to go into the notifications, and you're gonna realize that all this notification, the recipient is Gentech. I'm gonna switch to hider and save changes. So if I come back here, I'm just gonna refresh, and this notification should be changed to 1. So I'm just gonna refresh, and now we have 1 notification. I'm also gonna go onto the dashboard itself, refresh, and we still have a notification to be 1. And when I scroll down, we also have the notification to be 1. So we have successfully gotten the notification for the logged in user without having to import notification on all of our pages. And that's one more optimization we could do on our code. All right, so I just want us to take a look at our template. So if you take a look at the template, this part we have project add, and we have home over here. And then the last part is project add. So basically this information is also being displayed here. This is the banner or the header over here. Okay, so I'm just gonna go into the dashboard. Sorry, I'm just gonna look for the dashboard. And when you come to the dashboard, this information is now dashboard. And when you come here, we see dashboard over here. When you go into any of the pages, this header or banner here is actually displaying an information that is for that particular page. We don't need to, but in our case, when we come here, we are seeing dashboard. Even on the project add page, we are also displaying dashboard and dashboard, and that's not what we want to do. Okay, so the way we are going to solve this is to come into our views, and inside the view, we want to add a context. So this context, we want to add a context here. So this context is actually going to be, all right, so let's provide a context down here. And this context is actually going to hold the information for the header of the page. So we're going to do context like this, and we provide a square bracket, and I'm just going to use this double quote. And what I'm going to call this context is going to be header underscore text right here. And I'm actually going to give the name or the details of that particular information or what I want to display on the header. So in this case, we are actually in the project create. So if we come to the template, we are seeing projects add, and that we are seeing actually is going to be on the template itself. We're going to go here and add project. So we are seeing project add. So I'm just going to copy this same information, and I'm just going to put it right here. All right. Once I have done this, I'm also going to copy it for all of the pages we have created so far. So right now we have only 2 pages. I'm going to also come down here and then put that same header underscore text. And this time around is actually going to be on the dashboard. So when we go to the dashboard, we are seeing dashboard here. So I'm just going to change this information to dashboard. So we're gonna have dashboard like this. So now I'm just gonna save this information and copy this context right here, and this information is actually located on our base.html. So I'm going to scroll down to where we have the template, and we're going to open the base.html, and we can now search for header, content dash header. So content dash header is where this information is being displayed. So I'm just going to wrap this one here and display our header information that is being provided as a context from the backend. And I'm also going to copy the same thing, and when you come here, we are also seeing dashboard, and that information is actually coming from here. So we're going to also have to set it like this. All right, now that we have done this, it is actually going to show the right information regardless of the page we are on. So I'm just going to save changes, come to our application itself, and I'm gonna refresh here, and this part, because we are on the project create, is supposed to show add project. So when I do the refresh, we have project add and project add here. And now when I go back onto the dashboard, refresh, and we are also seeing dashboard and dashboard here. So now we can display the information for each particular page. All right, one thing I'm also gonna do is to come here, and where we have the content like this, I'm just going to cut it out of this place. So I'm just going to select, and it's now highlighting the end of it right here. So I'm just going to cut everything right here and just do include, and I'm just going to include it. So it's going to be on component. I've not actually created it yet, but it's going to be in the component / and we're going to call it header underscore content like this .html. And now that we have actually done this, I'm just gonna go into the component right here and create this file. So I'm just gonna create this file. I'm gonna name it header underscore content .html like this. And now that we have created this page, I'm just going to paste the content right here, and I'm going to save changes to all, refresh to see if it is actually going to. And now we have that information. We go back here, add project, and now we also have it here. So now we have a single place, one file that contains all this information. And if we need to make changes to anything, we're going to come here and then make changes to that. All right, so now I'm just going to close this file and close the base.html here. The next thing I'm also going to do is to close all these files right here. And inside the components, I'm also going to go into the sidebar. So if you come to this part, now we are showing this Alexander Pierce here, and we are also showing the profile picture of that person. Now we also want the profile picture and the name that is being displayed over here to be the name of the logged in user. We also need this one to be the profile picture of the logged in user. All right, so I'm not just gonna go into the sidebar. Once we have the sidebar open, we're gonna search for Alexander, and we have the Alexander right here. So now we need to set the profile picture, which is gonna be at this part. I'm just gonna go into full mode like this, and now we need to set the profile picture here. So I'm just gonna delete everything and bring this one. And once I have done this, I'm just gonna do request dot user dot profile underscore picture underscore URL like this. And then I'm just gonna copy the same information right here and come to where we have the Alexander, and now we need to display the full name. So we're also gonna have request the user dot profile, and this time around, so request the user dot profile is actually gonna put us into the profile model. So accounts profile, so we have the user dot profile. And now that we are in the accounts model, we're gonna also have access. So now we had access to the profile picture URL, and we also have access to full name like this. So I'm just gonna go here, and where we are displaying the full name, I'm just gonna do dot full name. So now I'm just going to save changes, come to our page and refresh. So when we do refresh, we are expecting to see the profile, our profile picture here, and then our full name right here. So now you see my profile picture and my full name right here. All right, guys. So I'm just going to see you in the next video. All right, guys. So the notifications we have created so far are done through the admin dashboard, where we click on add notification and we went ahead and created our notification. But what we actually want to be doing is to be able to create a notification outside the normal request of our Django application. So to do that, we're going to have to rely on either Redis or RabbitMQ. So in our case, we're going to be relying on Redis to create our notification. So I am using Windows, and for Windows users, Redis is actually not officially supported on Windows. All right, so I'm just going to have to come here and do install Redis Windows Kit, something like this. And okay, so once I do that, I'm just going to see this GitHub page. I'm just going to click on that. And when you scroll down, you're going to have Redis for Windows, this version. And here you can download this particular one, the .msi one. So you're going to have to click on that and the download is going to start. I have actually downloaded it multiple times. Okay, so once you have actually done the download, you're going to have to locate the download in your downloads folder and then double click on it like this and then click on next. All right, so as you can see, I have actually done the download. So it's actually asking me to either repair or remove. So I can't go ahead and then do the installation. But then I'm also going to tell you some few things you're going to have to do when you're doing the installation. All right, so once you're doing the installation, there are a couple of things you're going to note. So first is there is a section that's going to ask you whether you want to add the Redis installation folder to the path. So you have to actually tick on that and then click on next. You're also going to get to a section where it actually asks you to set a memory limit for Redis server. So by default, it's actually going to be on 100 megabytes, 100 MB. So that is what it's actually going to be. And you can choose to expand it or actually leave it like that. And finally, you have to actually go through the installation process. All right, that is for Windows users. Your Linux, you can actually, when you come to this page, you can actually go through and then select your particular distribution of Linux and then go ahead and then do the installation. And for Mac users, it's actually so simple. So what you have to do is to do brew install Redis, and it's actually going to go ahead and install Redis for you. Okay, so when we are done with the installation of Redis, you're gonna have to come and then open your CMD. That is for Windows users, and for Linux users, you're gonna have to open your terminal. So I'm just gonna do CMD like this, and I'm also gonna zoom in like this so that you can see very well. And now that we have opened the terminal, we can now do some commands like Redis -server, and if Redis is installed, it's gonna start your server for you. So in this case, I'm seeing an error. So once I'm seeing an error like this, I'm just gonna close my terminal and then bring out my CMD again. But this time around, I'm just gonna run the CMD as an administrator. That is very, very key. So now that we have opened CMD as an administrator, we're gonna add this command, run this command. So we do net stop Redis. So we are now stopping Redis. And now it tells us that Redis service has stopped successfully. And now that we have done this, we can now do Redis-server. And now it's going to run our Redis server for us. Now that we have actually even stopped the server and has now started it, we don't even need to use the CMD as an administrator. So we can even come CMD, and I'm just gonna run it in a normal mode. Just zoom in like this and do Redis-server like that, and it's actually gonna open the Redis server like that for us. So I'm just gonna zoom out like this. Okay, so now that we have our Redis server running like this, we can do a couple of things. So I'm just gonna open another tab here and let me zoom in a bit for you. So now our Redis server is running on this tab. So you're gonna open another tab here, and now we can do Redis -CLI, and now we are in it. So we can do ping, and it's actually responding pong. We can also do monitor, and it's saying okay. So that means Redis is successfully installed. As you can see here, we can run a couple of Redis command, and we also see the Redis server running. So now that everything is working, I'm just gonna see you in the next video. All right, guys, so now that we have successfully installed Redis on our server, and we are now able to run Redis server on our development application, we now need to install Celery and then Redis, the packages for Python application. So what I'm going to be doing is to do pip install, and we're going to install Celery, and we also want to install Redis like this, and we're going to allow it to run. So we wait for a moment for it to do the installation. Perfect. So now that Celery and Redis are installed, what we're going to be doing is to add this to our requirement.txt. So we're going to do pip freeze, and we're going to freeze all this in our requirement.txt like this. And now it's actually in our requirements. Now that we have done this, we're gonna open our project inside the swifthub where we have settings.py, and we're gonna create a file. This file, we're gonna name it celery.py. So I'm gonna do celery.py like this. And inside the celery.py, we're gonna have to do a couple of things. So here, I'm just first of all gonna import. So we say from __ future, we're gonna import, and here we are importing absolute import, and we are also gonna be importing Unicode literals like this. And now that we have done this, we're gonna also import OS, and after we have imported OS, we're gonna say from Celery, we're gonna import, and now we are importing Celery like this. Celery, okay. So everything looks good. Now we're gonna use the OS that we have actually imported over here to set the default Django setting model for our Celery app or program. Or I could actually come to where we have the manage.py. So manage.py, and inside the manage.py, I'm just gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna paste it right here. So we have Django settings _ model, and now we have swifthub. That is the name of our application .settings. Okay, so from there we also do app is equal to, we say Celery, and we pass the name of the app. And this time around, the name of the app is gonna be swifthub, the one that we have actually provided over here. Okay, so now that we have done this, we wanna also set the configuration object to child process. So we say app dot config from object right here, and we're gonna pass, and now we're gonna pass Django dot conf like this, and we're gonna say settings. Okay, then we're also gonna provide a namespace, and then the namespace is actually gonna be Celery. So we have Celery like that. We have Celery in caps, Celery like this. Now we want to be able to load task models from all registered Django apps. So we're gonna do app dot auto discover task, and we're gonna run it like this. And after that, we also want to set the default connection retry behavior during startup. So we're gonna add app dot and conf dot broker _ connection _ retry _ on startup like this, and we're gonna set that one to equal to true, so that Django will actually retry the connection during the startup. Right now that we have this, we can just save changes. Now we're gonna go into our init.py, and we are actually going to make sure that our Celery app is actually imported when Django starts. And to do that, we're going to say from .celery imports, and we're going to import the app as Celery underscore app like this. So I'm going to save Celery underscore app. Oh, sorry, as Celery underscore app like this. And I'm just going to save changes. Okay, so now that we have done this, we don't need these files anymore. I can just close them like that. So now we need to open our settings.py, and now we're going to have to add some few configuration options. So let me make a comment here and say Celery configuration options like this, and now there are a couple of things we want to set. So I'm going to say Celery underscore, we say broker underscore URL, and that is going to be set to Redis : / and we have local host like this, and then the port is going to be 6379. That is the port you saw when you're doing the installation. Then the next is actually going to be Celery underscore results underscore backend, and that is also going to be equal to the same thing. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it right here. I could even do this, copy this, and then actually paste this one right here. But I'm just going to leave it like this. Since this is a tutorial, I'm just going to leave it like that. And we're also going to set another option that is going to be Celery underscore accept underscore, that will be content, and that is going to be a list, and we inside the list we provide application /JSON like that. And then the next thing we're going to also do is to say Celery, that is also going to be in caps, Celery underscore results underscore serializer, result underscore serializer, and that is also going to be set to JSON. So the last is going to be Celery underscore task underscore serializer, and that is also going to be, so I'm just going to have to copy this and then paste it right here. And the final thing we're going to do is Celery underscore time zone, and the time zone, in your case you can leave it at UTC, but in my case I'm going to leave it as Africa, and I'm in Ghana, Accra, so I'm going to do Accra like this. All right, guys, so at this point what we're going to be doing is to create a notification. You know, when a project is actually created, a project has a team and a team has members. So when a team is actually assigned to a project, we want to actually inform or notify all the team members that this project has been assigned to them. So where we are doing inside the form underscore valid, where we are doing project.save, that is actually where we are creating the project. So this is the perfect place to create our notification. So we say send notifications here. This is where we are going to be creating or sending our notification. But we want to create the notification function or task somewhere, and this time around it's going to be in the notification app here. So inside the notification, I'm just going to create a file and I'm going to call it task.py. So this is where we are going to create our notification task. So to create a task, we need to do a couple of imports. So let me zoom in and then collapse the sidebar like this. First, we need to import Celery. So I'm going to do from Celery import, and we're going to import, and we're going to import shared underscore task. Also, we need to import time zone. So you say from Django.utils import, and now we are importing time zone like that. And we are also going to import notification. So we say from dot models import, and we are importing notification, not manager, but notification. And finally, we also gonna be doing sending a notification on the project. So we're gonna do from from projects dot models import, and now we're gonna import project like that. Okay, so at this point, we are actually gonna create our task, and the task that we're gonna be creating, we're gonna have shared task, and now we're gonna do def because it's a function, and we're gonna call it create underscore notification like this, and now it's gonna accept a couple of arguments. Okay, so the first argument we're gonna pass is gonna be the actor underscore username. So we say actor underscore username. Okay, if you come to the notification model, we have an actor. So we're going to have to query for an actor, but we don't want to pass an object to our function. We don't want to pass an object to the task. So you're going to pass the username, and once we have the username, we can query for the actor, comma, and we also want to get recipient and the recipient underscore name. So once we have the recipient name, we can also query for the recipient, and from there we also gonna want to get the verb. So the verb is gonna be the action that is performed by the actor, and now we also want to get content underscore type underscore ID. So the content type model framework is going to give us access to all the models in our app. So here we have projects, and now we can pass content type ID of the project's model, and that is going to give us the notification on the project. So if you should pass an ID of the task, then it's actually going to help us make notification on task. And the last one we're gonna pass is gonna be the object underscore ID. So say we are creating a notification, and it's gonna be on the project model, but the notification is specifically gonna be on a specific project. So that is the object ID we are passing here. All right. So now that we have had this, we wanna do a try. And when we do a try, we also wanna do accept. So accept. And so inside the except, we're gonna do pass like this, and inside the try, this is what we're gonna be doing. First of all, we're gonna query for the actor. So we say actor is gonna be user.objects, but user is actually not imported, so we need to import the user model. So we say from Django.contrib.alt.models, we're going to import, and now we are going to import user. Now that we have the user model imported, we can do .objects.get, and now we're going to pass the username. So we're going to check the user in the user model that has a username of actor underscore username like this. All right, perfect. So we're also gonna copy this and come here, and we're gonna do for recipient. So the recipient is actually gonna be user.objects.get, and the username is gonna be the recipient. Let me make it username. The recipient username we are passing like that. Oh, sorry. Your recipient username, and I'm just gonna paste it over here. Perfect. Now we need to get the content type. So we say content underscore type is actually gonna be equal to, so here we need to query the content type. So we say content type. So we now have to import the content type. So I'm gonna come at the top here and do from Django.contrib.contentTypes.models import, and now we're gonna import content type like that. So this content type is what has been imported, and now we're gonna use that one to query. So we say content type dot objects dot get, and now we are going to get a content type with an ID of the content type ID that is going to be passed over here. Perfect. From here, we now want to get our content object. So we say content underscore object like this, and that is actually going to be our project. So if it is for task that we are going to make this notification on, or if you're going to create a notification when someone make a comment on the comment model or on something, so we're gonna do comments, but now it's a project. So we say project.objects dot get, and now we are going to get a project with an ID of objects underscore ID. That is what has been passed over here. All right, so from here we need to now create our notification. So I'm just going to create a notification variable variable, and that is going to be notification. That is the model dot objects dot create, and now we want to create our notification, but our notification model actually has a couple of fields, so we need to fill them like that. So when I come here, we're gonna first of all get the recipient. So we say recipient, that is the recipient on the model here, and this recipient should be equal to, the recipient that has been queried over here. So we say recipient is equal to recipient. We bring our comma and we say actor that is on the model is going to be equal to the actor we have queried for, comma, and we also going to say verb is actually going to be verb that has been passed over here, this verb. And then the next thing is actually going to be the content type. So content type is equal to the content type that has been passed, that has been queried over here. And then the next is actually going to be content underscore object is equal to the content object that has been also queried over here. And finally, this is optional to provide. That is going to be the red. The red has a default of false. So if you don't even provide it, it's going to give us false. I like to provide it. So we say false over here. And now everything is completed. All right. So now that we have this, I just want to return the notification, not the notification object, but notification dot verb like that. And finally, we're going to do except. So we want to be more verbose and do user dot does not exist. So does not exist. So if let's say a recipient or an actor does not exist, what we want to be doing is to return none like this. And another except. So except, so if for some reason the content type does not exist, so we say content type does not exist, what we also want to be doing is to return, and we're going to return none like that. So this is our create notification task. So I'm just going to save it, come to my view here where we are going to accept the where we are going to send the notification. So at the very top of our project create view, I'm just going to do a couple of imports. So the first import I'm just going to do is for the task. So we say from notifications dot task import, and now we're gonna import create notification task like this. And then the next thing we also want to import is to import the content type. So we say from Django dot, and it's gonna be contrib dot content types dot models. We're gonna import, and now we are importing the content type again. All right, so now that we have imported all these things, we're gonna copy the create notification that has been actually imported, and now we need to create our notification. But to create the notification, there are a couple of things that we have to define. So I'm just gonna go into our task and come and pick actually the create notification. So this is actually going to be the signature for our notification. So this is the signature for our notification right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna paste it here so that you see the things that we actually need. First of all, we're gonna need to get our actor username. So the actor username is gonna be so actor underscore username is actually gonna be person, the logged in user. So we can say self.request.user. So that is gonna be the actor. So dot username actually dot username, since we say we do not want to pass an object to it. So now we have our actor username defined over here. The next is going to be the verb. So the verb is actually going to be, let me use an f string right here. So f string, and now we're going to say new project assignment. So we want them to know that a new project has been assigned to them. So I'm gonna bring comma, and we want to get the name of the project. So it's gonna be project dots, and it's gonna be the name of the project right here. So our verb has also now been defined, and now we need to get a content type ID. So content underscore type underscore ID is gonna be content type that we have imported. Content type that we have imported right here. So I'm just gonna go up here and copy the content type at this place. So content type, and paste it over here. Dot objects dot get, and we're gonna get for underscore for model, like that. So now we need to pass the model, and the model is gonna be our project like this dot ID. So that is gonna give us the content type ID for project. Now that we have also done this, we need to get the object underscore ID, which is the last parameter here. And then the object underscore ID is going to be the project dot ID. So that is the project we have saved over here, created over here. So project dot ID. Now we have all the parameters. We have all the parameters being defined. So content type is going to be equal to. So now we have all the parameters here. The next thing we want to do, so let me comment this out like this. And the next thing we want to do is to say members. So the people that we need to send the notification to, the team members. So we say members is equal to, and that is going to be project dot team dot members like this dot all. So I'm gonna go into the project model for you to see what I'm doing. So inside the project model, we have team, and when we go into the team, we have the team, and when we go into the team, so let me click on team, we actually have members, and it's many to many, so we do .all on that. All right, perfect. So now that we have actually done this, I'm gonna go into the task, into the view, and we say .all. This is actually gonna give us all the team members. Now we want to loop through, so we say for member, so we're gonna call a single member in then members like this. So for a member in members, now we're gonna run our notification task. So we're gonna do notification dot delay. So we want to run it as a task. So dot delay is actually gonna make it run as a task. And now we're gonna have to pass these ones. So we're gonna say user actor underscore username is gonna be equal to user actor underscore username. So, and from there, we're also gonna do recipient dot username is equal to recipient. Okay, so recipient underscore username. So now we will have to define the recipient username. So here we're gonna say recipient underscore user name is gonna be equal to member dot user name like this. So now actor underscore username is gonna be username. Then we're also gonna have recipient underscore username is gonna be recipient. So that is actually gonna be equal to this right here, recipient underscore username. Then we're also gonna have verb. So the verb, okay, so let me bring all these ones down for you to see what we are doing right here. So the verb is gonna be equal to verb, the one that we have actually defined over here. Then we have content type ID, and that is gonna be equal to content underscore type underscore ID, and that is what we have also defined over here. And then the last one is the object ID, and object ID actually is gonna be object ID that has been defined over here. So these are the parameters we need, and right after this we need to save it, and now we're gonna need to run our Redis server and then the Celery. So let me bring up my terminal, and I have gone ahead and actually opened some of the terminals right here. To run the Redis server is gonna be Redis dash server like this, and now our Redis server is actually running. So you can see it in action right here. I'm also gonna zoom out a little bit for you to see. Now that our Redis server is running, the next thing we're gonna have to do is to run our Celery worker. So you're gonna say Celery and dash capital A, and we're gonna have to provide the name of our application. Then the application is now SwiftHub. So it says Swift Hub. So we are getting that SwiftHub from our Celery configuration we did here. So when you come into Redis, so let me go into SwiftHub here and Celery, and we are now setting the app name to be SwiftHub. So let me bring my terminal. So we say Celery dash a SwiftHub, and from there we're gonna say worker dash L, and we're gonna say info. All right, so this command is actually enough to make us create our task or send notification outside the normal request of Django. If you are using Linux and Mac, this is gonna work. But if you are using if you're using Windows, you're gonna have to pass extra argument, and that is gonna be dash dash pool is equal to solo. And if we don't do this, what is gonna happen is Celery is actually going to receive the task, but it's not going to run it. So you're going to have to add this to Windows, this extra arguments when you are running your Celery worker on Windows. So I'm going to hit enter like this. And now we wait for Celery to actually discover our task like that. All right, so let me expand my terminal like this so that you could see everything. Now what we are seeing is Celery has actually discovered our task. So when you come here, we have notification, that is the app dot task, and inside the notification app we have task dot create notification, and inside here we have create notification task. So it's actually seeing everything. So now what we have to do is to create a notification and look at this place to see what happens. Also, okay, so I'm gonna go here and go to where we are creating our project. Now I have to create a name. I have to add a name of a project. So I'm just gonna do create a front end for SwiftHub. So let me do it. Create SwiftHub front end. Okay, so now we're gonna give it a description, and the description is gonna be create a front end for SwiftHub. Okay, so for SwiftHub like this, and then the theme is gonna be the Python theme right here. And now we have the Python theme. The company is gonna be X company like that, and then the status is gonna be in progress. The priority is gonna be high, and then the start date is gonna be today, and then the due date is actually gonna be the next day. So the budget details, I'm not gonna add it. But now let's go into our notification, and we have only 2 notifications right here. So I'm just gonna click on create notification and see what happen. So here I click on create notification, and now, sorry, create project, and now we have the project created right here. I'm also going to go into my terminal, and we are seeing, all right, so now we get an error, and it's now telling us Django.db, so integrity error, not now constrained for notification.created. And that's true, because when we come into our notification, we are saying created at, and this one is not going to be null. And now that is not going to be null, when you come into our task where we are creating the notification, we are also not passing the created at time. That is a mistake that we did on our part. So I'm going to come here to the notification model and do auto underscore now underscore add is going to be true. So it's going to be true here. So that means that when we create a notification, we also, Django should go ahead and then set the current date and time for us. So now that we have done this, I'm just going to go into CMD and say Python manual.py make migrations like this, and say Python manual.py migrate. And now the change is going to be written to our database. So now this field is now automatically created when we create our notification. Okay, so now that we have done this, we need to kill our terminal. We need to kill Celery like this, and then we're going to bring up our command again and click on enter like that. And now it's actually going to discover our task once more. So we have notification.task.create notification. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to go to add project, and at the add project, we're going to say create, the name of the project is going to be create backend for swifthub like this, swifthub like this. All right, so we're going to say create the backend in Django like this. And now we're gonna come and then select our theme, and then the company is now gonna be Gentech Company or Gentech Enterprise and Serving Music. That is gonna be the name of the company, and the project is gonna be in progress. So the priority is gonna be high, and then the start date is gonna be today, and then the end date is actually gonna be maybe 3 days from now. I'm not gonna attach any budget details, but let me refresh for you to see the notifications we have only here. Over here we have only 2 notifications, and now we're gonna click on create project. So I'm just gonna click on that and wait, and now our project gets created. But let's look at our terminal right here, and now Celery is saying it has succeeded. So first, we actually came to the task, and we say inside the task, when everything is successful, we're going to return notification.verb. So notification.verb is what has been returned over here. So first it's created, it actually received the task and then went ahead and started creating. So it created the first notification, and now we are seeing the verb over here, and it received another one and then created. So that is to say that we have 2 people or team members. That is going to be the total list of members. So let me confirm that. Come into the task right here, notification right here, and now we are seeing the count to be 2. So when I refresh, we are now seeing 4. We have Gentech. That is the name of the person who is receiving the notification, and this is what has been. So when you click, you're going to see that this is actually the sender, the recipient is Haida, and then the actor is gonna be, the actor is gonna be the person who initiated it, and the verb is gonna be what we actually gave it. So project, new project assignment, and then the name of the project, and then the content type is gonna be the object, the project model, and the object ID is the specific project we actually created. And now we are saying that the notification is actually not read. Okay, so let me go back into the team, and inside the team we have the Python team, and we have only 2 people. So if we had 10 people, we are actually going to create 10 notifications. And now I'm just going to come to my dashboard and refresh, I'm not gonna see anything because I'm the actor and I'm not supposed to receive a notification. But I'm just gonna go here and then we'll log in as Hider because Hider is part of the team and he is supposed to receive a notification. All right, so now I just need to log in as Hider. So I'm just gonna come here and click on login, and now I need to supply Hider's details. So Hider, and once we have Hider, I'm just gonna click on login. And this is actually going to log me into the admin panel. So once I have successfully logged in, I could just come here and then refresh. And now we're going to have Hider's name here, but Hider is now having two notifications. And then the first one is create project assignment. That was the project. That was the task that we actually created, or the notification that was created when we created that particular project. So when you scroll down here, the name of the task was create backend for swifthub. So Haida received a notification, new project assignment, and then the name of the project. If you come here, you're also going to see the same name right here. All right, guys, welcome back. So in the previous video, we were able to create notifications automatically when a project is actually created. So here, all team members in the team that is actually assigned to the project receives a copy of the notification telling them that they have been assigned to that project. All right, so if you take a look at our project inside the task, we are importing content type. And when you come into our views, we are also importing content types. And it looks like we have a lot of code that could actually belong into the task. Right now, they are just floating in our view. So for each view that is actually going to import this task, we're going to have to write all this code. That is something that we don't want. So I'm first of all going to go here into the task, and I'm just going to accept the actor username like this. But for the recipient, we don't need it, and I will tell you why in a minute. We're also going to need a verb, but then we don't need the content type ID like that. And now we're going to need the object ID as well. So here, I'm just going to come here and make a modification to the content type. So instead of getting content type, so we do content type.object.get, and we were getting actually the ID. We are getting and passing the ID to the content type ID. Now we do not have access to the ID again. So what we're going to be doing is to do dot get underscore for model, and we are now getting for the model, and then the model is actually going to be the project. So we have already imported the project. So now we get content type like this, and that has already been passed. And then the next thing we're also going to be doing is to take out the recipients, and I'm going to show you how we can get a recipient so we don't need the recipient anymore. All right, so now that we have done this, I'm just going to define project. So I'm just going to come here and say project. So we say project, and it's going to be equal to project dot objects dot get, and now we are going to get ID is equal to object underscore ID, much like what we did inside here. So we are trying to move most of the code to that place. So we're getting project, okay, ID is equal to ID, object ID like that. Now that we have access to project, we can now get the members. So we're gonna get all team members like this, that. So under the comment, we're gonna say members, and members is actually gonna be, so the project that we have actually queried for dot team dot, and we're gonna do members dot all, and because it's many to many, we're gonna do dot all like that. And now that we have actually gotten members, we can now do a for loop. So we say for, and each member who is going to receive a notification could be called a recipient. So we say for recipient, and for recipient in members. So we have now made our for loop like this. So now I need to indent everything. So now I need to indent everything under the for loop. So I'm just going to indent it like this. So now we have recipient is equal to recipient, and then an actor, the actor is equal to actor, verb is equal to verb, content type, and then our content object. Content object, we don't need content object anymore because we have project, and the project is going to be equal to the content object. So I'm just going to paste project here. All right, so now I could just take out content object because we don't need it anymore. So we have actor, content type, and project like that. And now we are getting our member. So everything now is going to remain the same. Now we need to make changes to our view. So we come into the view. We are now going to accept a fewer number of arguments. So you're going to need we first of all gonna need the actor username. So now I'm just actually gonna copy this, and then I could just take out all these ones because I don't need them anymore. And I'm gonna come down here and I will do notifications.delay, and now we need actor username. We don't need recipient over here, so I'm just gonna take out recipient, and we need a verb. We don't need content type ID like that. And also I'm just gonna come up here and then remove the content type like that. All right, so when I scroll down here, content type ID is something that we don't need. And now our notification actually looks a lot simpler. All right, so let's save changes. Now that we have actually made a modification to the task, we need to bring up our terminal, and now our Celery worker has to be closed. So I'm just going to close the worker like this and then bring it up again. Okay, now it's actually discovering our task. So I'm just going to bring up my browser like this and create another notification. So I'm just going to click on create project, and here I'm just gonna fill in the details. So I'm just gonna say create swifthub logo. Let's say create swifthub logo is actually a project we wanna create, and then the description is to create a logo for swifthub like that. And then the theme is gonna be Python theme. We're gonna select that, and then the company is gonna be, let's say, Gentech tech like this. And the priority, okay, status is gonna be in progress, priority is gonna be median, and the start date is gonna be today, and it's gonna be ended the same date. I'm just gonna leave the budget details, but before we do that, I'm just gonna go here and come into the notifications, and now we have only 4 notifications. And don't forget, I've also logged in as hider. So now the user that is actually going to be creating, or the actor, is actually going to be hider, not Gentech. So I'm going to come here and then click, but take a look at the number of notifications here. I'm going to come here and then click on create project. So we wait, and now the project is actually created. I'm also going to go and have a look at our Celery, and now we have received some notification that has actually been processed. So the first one was received and it got created. So we have received some of the notification that has been processed. So I'm gonna come to the back end here, and I'm just gonna refresh, and now it was 4 at the beginning. Now we have 6, and that's because when we come to teams over here, we have this number of people right there. So all right guys, so that's how simple we can actually optimize our code. So now our code actually looks a lot cleaner. Everything about notification is just about this place, and we are now accepting a fewer number of arguments. All right guys, now things are actually looking pretty well. Here we are on our dashboard. I'm just gonna log in with my username. I don't want to log in as hider, so I want to log in as Gentech right here. And now I'm on the admin dashboard, but there is a bug Actually, there is a small issue with our project or our code, and that's because when we create a project on the front end, when a user actually creates a project from the dashboard right here or on the front end, it actually gets the notification creator. But when we come into the admin and let's say an administrator actually creates a project, it's not going to trigger any notification. So the notification will only be created when the project is actually created from the front end here, but not on the back end or not in the Django admin. And that's something that we want to fix. So to test that, I'm just going to come here, click on project, and then add one project. So here I'll select the project owner, and this time around it's gonna be Gentech. And okay, so let me make it hider, and then the Python team is the one going to work on it. And now we want to get a name for the project we want to create. Let's say create, and we're gonna say create backend for bsims. So bsims is actually one of the projects I have actually created. Okay, so now it's gonna be the description. The description is gonna be create a backend for bsims like this, and we can add any information that we want. And now we're gonna have the priority, the status is gonna be in progress. The priority is also gonna be medium. I'm just gonna leave it on default. Now that budget details, I'm not gonna add anything, but you can feel free to add something. The start date is gonna be today, and end date is also gonna be today. And I'm just gonna click on save. So before I even click on save, I just want to right click and then open the notification in a different tab. So when you come here, we have only 6 notifications. But when I click on this, okay, so now this one is actually created. I'm gonna refresh notification and no notification was created. And that's because any project we create from the admin side is not gonna trigger notification. So we need to fix that. Okay, so to fix that, there are a couple of ways to do that. So I'm just gonna mention a few, and we also gonna stick to one of the ways. So the first way we could do is to come to the notification models like this, and inside the notification models, we can create a Django signal, much like what we did on the accounts here when we create a user, we're gonna trigger a signal that is actually gonna create a profile for that user that has been created. The same way we can come to the notification models, and whenever a project is created, we could create a signal that is actually going to create a notification. That is one of the ways. Another way is going to be on the project model here, and we can override the save function. When we override the save function, we can actually call the notification task and create it over there. And lastly, the way we are going to do it is to create it on the admin. So we can override the save model on the admin. So I'm just gonna go collapse this and collapse this as well. And I'm gonna go into the admin here. So this is where we are actually registering our project on the admin site. Okay. So what we're going to be doing right now is I'm just going to push this one down and then define a class. So this class, I'm just going to call it project admin like this, admin like that. Okay. So this is actually going to inherit from admin dot model admin like that. Now that we have this, we can create a list. So let me collapse the sidebar here, and we're gonna say list underscore display. So the list underscore display is actually the fields that we want to see in the admin section. So it's actually gonna be a list like this, and inside this list, we're gonna have to list all the fields that we want to show in the admin section. So the first field I want to show is gonna be the name of the project. I also want to show the owner of the project, and then I'm going to show the team that is actually working on the project. The next one is actually going to be the status of the project. So we say status, and from the status, I also want to show the priority. So we have priority right here, and the next is actually going to be the start date. We're going to have start underscore date, and finally we're going to have what due date. So due underscore date. All right, so these are the information we want to show in the admin section. And now that we have this, we can now do the registration. So we go down here, and where we are registering our model, the model on the admin section, we're gonna bring a comma and then the project admin like this. All right. So now I'm just gonna go here and then refresh, go back to the project, and this is how it is being shown. These are the list of the attributes or fields we want to display. Perfect. Now that we have this, the next thing we're going to do is to add, override the save model function here. So we're going to say def underscore save underscore model. That is a function we want to override. And here we're going to pass off. And then the next one is going to be request. And after we have passed request, we're also going to pass the obj or the object, and that is actually going to be the instance of the project. Then we're also going to pass form and change like that. Now that we have passed these couple of details, I'm going to make an if condition here. So we say if not changed. Okay, so if the project is actually not changed, then the project is actually created. So the change is actually going to be when it is updated. But now we are talking about when the project is not changed. So that means it is updated. So we're going to say obj, that is going to be the object that is being passed, the instance of the project, dot owner. So we have a owner on the project model, and that is going to be equal to request. So we say request dot user like that. So we are now assigning the owner to be the logged in user. And now we're gonna say verb, and the verb is actually gonna be an F string like this. And okay, so here I could even go to the project view and then copy the verb right here, and then paste the verb at this place. But where we have project.id, we actually gonna make it object. Project.name, we're gonna make it object obj.name, obj.name like that. All right. So the next one is actually going to be else. So we made an if condition, but else if it is not changed, that means it is created. But if it is not created, that means it is actually updated. Then we're going to change the verb, and the verb is going to be an F string, and it's going to say project updated. So I'm going to backspace and say projects updated like this, and then object.name. Okay, so now that we have done this couple of things, we can now call the super, or we can now do the save. So we're gonna say super, and now we could do dot save underscore model like this, and now it is actually going to accept these things. So I'm gonna copy them and paste them right here, and I'm actually going to take out self like this. So it's going to accept request, object, form, and then change. So this is the part we are actually saving our project. Sorry, this is the part that we are saving even our project. So we save our project at this part. Okay, now that we have done this, we want to send a notification. You know, when we came here, we actually said we send a notification when the project is saved. And in the admin part, this is the part we are actually saving the project. So now that we are saving the project, we want to call our send notification. So I'm gonna copy this right here and then come into the admin. But before we do anything, we're gonna have to do import. So we say from notifications dot task dot from notification dot task import import, and we're gonna import create notification. And now I'm just gonna come down here and paste the notification here. So here we are going to send our notification, and we need the actor name. So it's actually going to be not self but request, because here we have access to request. So we say request.user.username, and we're also going to need not the verb, because the verb has actually been passed at the top here. Object ID is going to be the obj dot ID right here. And now we can create our notification right here. And to create a notification, we say create notification dot delay, and then the actor username has been passed, the verb has also been passed, and then the object ID is the object ID we have passed over here. All right, so at this point, I'm just gonna bring up my terminal, and we are still taking a look at the our Celery console right here. And now I'm just gonna come here into the admin and take a look at the notifications that we have. So I'm gonna come and take a look at the notifications that we have. We have 6 notifications. Now we want to create a project, and hopefully it should create a notification as well. So I'm gonna say Gentech is gonna be the owner, and then the team is gonna be the Python team. The project name, I'm just gonna make it create another logo. So if that could be the name of a project, then we're gonna say create another logo like that. And from there, the company is gonna be X company. So now that we have set the company, this and that, and now we're gonna say the start date is today, and then the end date is today. All right, so now we have 6 notifications. I'm gonna click on save, and now it actually creates our project. But let's go back here and refresh, and now we have 8 notifications. And when we even also go, when we go into here, we are also seeing that create another logo has been created. A notification for that has been created. All right, guys, welcome back. So I'm just gonna collapse all these things right here. Okay, so for what we're gonna be doing, I'm just gonna come into our project dashboard, the admin dashboard like this. And so on the admin dashboard, we are displaying the latest project, and we are also displaying the task, the latest task. Tasks are actually assigned to projects. So we actually gonna be showing the task when we actually visit the project detail view, which is something we have actually not created yet. But here, I don't want us to just show the task, but we're going to be showing the projects that are nearing the due date. So what we're going to be doing is, for every project that is 2 days close to the due date, we want to display this project here because it actually requires special attention. So what I'm going to be doing is to go into our project model right here, and I'm just going to toggle the sidebar like this. And here, I'm just going to define a function. I'm just going to define a function in our query set. We say dev, and the name is going to be due underscore in underscore to underscore this or less. So that is actually going to be the name of the function we want to create. So that is actually going to take stuff like this. And now that we have actually defined this function, we're going to want to get the name. We're going to want to get today's date. So we say today is going to be time zone. So we say time zone dot now dot date. So that is actually going to give us today's date. So here we have actually imported time zone right here. All right, so the next thing is going to be 2 days from today. So we're going to define a variable, and we're going to call it 2 underscore days from today. So I actually want to make it more descriptive. So it's actually going to be today plus today plus time delta. So time delta. So time delta, and we're gonna have to import time delta. So right here we're gonna provide days. The number of days is equal to 2. So we actually want to get 2 days from now. So after we have had today's day, we want to get 2 days from now. So we add 2 days to today, and that is going to give us 2 days into the future. So here, let's import time delta. So we're gonna come here and do the import like this. So we're gonna say from datetime import, and we're gonna import time delta like that. So this time delta, the one that we have imported, is what we are actually using right here. And now that we have imported time delta, we need to return. So what we're gonna be returning is gonna be self.active. So active is what we have actually defined over here. So it's gonna filter to give us the projects that are active. So we're gonna do another filter on it, upcoming. So upcoming is actually giving us a project that the due date is actually greater than time zone dot now. That is going to be greater than now. So any project that is actually in the past is going to be filtered out. And now we have to do the final filter. So we say filter, and then the filter is going to be due underscore date. So the due underscore date is less than or equal to, and it's less than or equal to 2 days from today. So essentially what we are doing is, after we have found today's date, we add 2 days to today's date, and that is going to give us 2 days into the future. And now we are going to return all projects that the status is active. I mean, the active is equal to true. And then the upcoming is also equal to, so these projects are actually in the future. The due dates are in the future, and we're gonna filter for those that the due date are in the future. We're gonna filter to get those that are 2 days or less. So this is actually going to be our filter or our query set. So let me save changes, and now I could now come into accounts, and then I'm gonna go into the views here. So where we are displaying the latest task, so we have latest task and latest task count. I'm just gonna comment them out because we don't need them anymore. And now I'm just gonna convert this latest task into our project near due date. So I'm just gonna make pass a contest, and then the name of the contest is gonna be project underscore near underscore due. Then we bring date right here, and that is actually gonna be on the latest project. So we go get latest project dot, and now we could have access to this function, the model function that we created right here. So we say dot. So I'm gonna do dot due underscore 2 days or less. So we have it right here, and now we're just gonna slice it, and then now we're gonna pick only 5 of those. So if you are having more than 5, you're gonna pick only just 5. So now this is actually in our context. So I'm gonna save changes, and now we're gonna open our dashboard.html. Now I'm just gonna search for task. So we have task, and that is where we are actually going to display our project near due date. So I'm gonna come to the top here, and where it says task, I'm gonna make it project like this, and the name is actually gonna be not latest task, but we're gonna have project near due date. So it's a project near due date like that. And I'm just gonna go back into the view and copy this context variable, and inside the template we're gonna look for where we are doing the for task in latest underscore task. So right now it's gonna be for project. So project in. So we're gonna have project near due date. Let me collapse the sidebar like this, and wherever we see task like task.name, we're gonna put project. So we have task. I'm gonna hold Alt and double click on all these ones, task, and I'm just gonna do this And from here, where we have project.project.name, we're gonna have project.name, and that is what we are also going to have. And from here we also come into for tags in latest underscore task. So I'm just going to come here and copy this for loop right here, and then here I'm just going to paste it like that. All right, so I need to copy project. Actually, I'm making a mistake with the spelling of project, so I'm just going to hold alt and click. So alt click, 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 and then I'm just gonna do it for all these places, and then backspace. That is actually going to, oh, so I did it for some places, I did it at the wrong place. So I'm just gonna do project. So we say project like this and copy it. So here I'm just gonna hold alt. So this one is okay, this one is okay, this one is not. So I'm gonna paste it. This one is okay, this is project. All right, so perfect. So where we have the goal completion, I'm also gonna do project like this, and wherever we see task, we're gonna have to paste project. So alt, and then I'm gonna do alt and then click where we have task, and then task. So I'm gonna paste it like this. I'm gonna save changes, and now I could go back onto our dashboard and then refresh. So I'm gonna scroll down, and now we are having project near due date, and we have lots of the projects right here. So if you take a look at it, this project is due in 0 days, and that's because it is actually going to be due today. That's why we have 0 days. So now we are seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects. So where we say create another logo, that is a name of a project. I'm gonna go back to the admin dashboard here and click on that. And now I'm gonna scroll down, and where the due date is actually due today, but I'm gonna go here and then select maybe 4 days from now and click on save. So if I come back here and refresh, it should actually take this one out. So I'm gonna refresh, and now that one is out. So we don't have create another logo as a project in the project near due date. So this project actually requires special attention. That's why you are seeing them here. Create backend for swifthub is 3 days, and it's not gonna show because we said the time delta, the days is actually gonna be equal to 2 days from today. All right, guys. So at this point, we want to notify our team members of the project that are close to the due date, that are 2 days close to the due date. And to do that, we're going to have to install Django Celery. The reason why we need to install extra package to do that is when we are actually trying to create a project, we actually trigger the project when we click on the create button or create project button. That is actually going to call the function. But this time around, we are not going to click on any button, but when it is 2 days close to the due date, it actually sends a notification to all team members reminding them of that. So to do this, we have to install the package called Django Celery. So I'm gonna have to close this and close that as well, and even this. All right, so I'm just gonna bring up my terminal like this and do pip install, and we're gonna install Django dash Celery dash bit like that, and we're gonna wait for it to install. So let's wait for it to install. All right, perfect. So now Celery bit gets installed. So I'm gonna clear my screen like this, and I'm gonna have to add this one to requirement.ts. So pip freeze, and we're gonna add it to our requirements. Requirements. Sorry, we're gonna add it to requirement.txt. Requirement.txt, and now it's gonna get added to the requirement.txt right here. All right, so perfect. From here, the next thing we're gonna do is to come into our settings. So I'm gonna have to open the settings right here in the swifthub. So settings, and inside the settings, I'm just gonna add Celery underscore bit to the installed app. So I'm gonna scroll up to the part where we have third-party apps, and I'm gonna add it. So let me bring a comma right here and then add it like this. So we have Django underscore Celery underscore bit like this. So right from here, I'm just gonna save changes, and then I'm gonna make migration. So I'm gonna clear my screen like this and do Python manage.py make migrations, and we wait for migrations to be made. Okay, so I spelled that wrong. Python manage.py make migrations, and we wait for migrations to be made. So no migration is detected, and we do Python manage.py migrate like that, and we're gonna wait for these migrations to be made. So now that migrations have successfully been made, I'm just gonna go and check on my server, and the server is actually running just fine. So now I could go back into the backend and then refresh. We are now seeing a periodic task because we added the Django Celery bit to the installed app. So we are having a whole lot of apps right here. But the one that we are going to be particularly interested in is going to be the periodic task right here. So I'm just going to click on that, and now there is nothing here. Perfect. Okay, so from here, we need to create our task. So I'm just going to go into our task. So notification, then open the task.py. So here we are actually going to create another shared task right here. So I'm just going to come down here and do at shared, and that we define a function, and this function I'm just going to call it notify underscore teams underscore due underscore project underscore. So I'm gonna make it projects underscore task like this. So I actually want to make it more descriptive. So notify teams due project task. All right, so from there, we actually need to get all projects that are close to the due date, that are 2 days to the new due date. So I'm just gonna create a variable. So that is gonna be project underscore due underscore soon. So these are the project that is close to the due date. Let me zoom in like this, and now that we have the variable created, I'm just gonna do project dot objects. All right, so I'm gonna do project dot objects dot due underscore. So we actually gonna go into our project model. So that is not the project models. We're gonna go into the project models, and we can now get due in 2 days or less. So I'm gonna copy it and then paste it right here. All right, so now that we have this, the next thing to do is to loop through the project. So we're gonna say for project in project underscore due soon. So we are now getting a list of projects that are due soon, and we're gonna say for project in project due underscore soon, we're gonna create a verb. So the verb is actually gonna be equal to, so we do f string, and now we're gonna say reminder. And so the reminder is actually gonna be the reminder that the project is gonna be due soon. So we say the project, and now we need to bring the name of the project. So the name of the project is actually going to be gotten like this. So we're going to say project dot name. All right, so now that we have done this, we say is due soon. So that is actually going to be our verb, and we bring an exclamation mark like this. And now that we have this, the next thing to do is to get our actor underscore username. So we say actor underscore username is actually going to be equal to project, the project that we have actually queried for, dot owner, so owner dot user name like this. So this is actually going to give us the username of the actor. So now we need to notify all the team members. So we're gonna say members like this, and it's actually gonna be project dot and team. So project.team.members dot all, like that. And now that we have all the project team members, you're gonna say for member in members, like this. So now we are actually looping through, and we're gonna call the create notification function, create notification task, like this. So this is our create notification task, and we're gonna call it right here dot, and we're gonna delay, like that. And we're gonna have to pass a couple of arguments. So we have actor underscore username is gonna be actor underscore username, like this. So this is the actor username, and from there we're also gonna pass the verb, and it's equal to verb. And finally we need to pass the object underscore id, and that is gonna be equal to project dot id, like this. So here I'm just gonna save changes. All right, so now we need to run our task, and we can actually register it in our settings .py here, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to go into our database and actually be able to set when, as and when we want this task to be run. All right, so to run it from the database, we need to add a couple of settings here. So let me make a comment and say Django Celery bit scheduler, like this. All right, so this is a line we have to add. So you're gonna say Celery underscore bit underscore scheduler like this, and that is actually gonna be equal to, so we have to pass Django in lowercase. You say Django underscore Celery underscore bit dot, then we say schedulers dot database. So database scheduler like this. So we say Celery bit scheduler, and we actually set it to Django underscore Celery bit dot schedulers dot database scheduler. So once we have done this, we can actually run our task from our database. So now we actually need to check to see if our server is running. So Python is running, Redis is actually also running, but because we have actually modified our task, we need to close this one and then run it again. So we're gonna run it like this, and we need to also run our Django Celery bit. So let me clear my screen like this. All right, so at this point we are going to run our Django Celery bit. So here is how we run it. So we say Celery dash a, and we're gonna get the name of our project. That is gonna be swifthub space, and we're gonna say bit dash log level. So log level is equal to info. So this is actually going to run our Django Celery bit. So I'm gonna hit on that and wait for it to run. So now let's see, it's actually starting, and we are now using this particular scheduler right here. So now I could go into my database, but before we even go into our database, we also have this one running like that. So let's actually take a look at the Celery bit right here. All right, so now I could go into my admin and refresh the page like this, and now we are seeing Celery result backend, and this task is actually run at this time. All right, so I'm gonna go here and then add a couple of tasks. So I'm gonna click on the periodic task, and now I'm just gonna give a name to our periodic task. So I'm just gonna name it notify team members of task due soon. That is going to be the name we are going to give to our task. And from here, we're going to come down here, and now we are seeing two tasks. The first one is create notification, and then the last one is notify team members. So this is the task we're going to select. This part, I'm not going to select anything. And now we are going to enable the task. But from here, I'm just going to go into the cron schedule right here, and I'm just going to click on this plus, and now I need to create my task. So first of all, we need to run this task at a specific time. So what we're going to be doing is to say that it's going to be running. Now it's actually 8:41 in the evening, 20:41 in the evening. So I'm just going to run it at, say, 43, and the hour is actually going to be 8. So it's actually going to be 20. It's actually going to be 8 like this. And now we're going to have days of the week. It's going to be all the time, all the days of the week. And then the month is actually going to be all the months of the year. And then the week is actually going to be every week. And then the time zone is going to be this. So the time that we want this task to run is actually going to be 8:43. Let me make it 8:44 because it's just so close to 8:40. It's now 8:42 and it can run at any time. So I'm gonna click on save, and now this is the time we are going to run it. So if I should even click on edit, we are going to see that it's actually going to run at 8:40. Okay, so now we are seeing it's going to be running at AM. So in that case, we need to change this one to 20. All right, so that it runs in the evening. So now when I click on edit, it's gonna tell me that it's gonna run at 8:44 p.m. That's perfect. So I'm gonna save it, and now we can also click on this one. So set start date, I'm gonna make it now, and now I can just click on save. So this task is what we are actually going to be running, but now let's inspect. And now on our Celery bit, we are saying sending due task, and now it has actually received our task from the database. So we wait, it's now 8:43. We're gonna wait a couple of, we're just gonna wait for 1 minute to catch, and we will see our notification go through. And as we are waiting, let's go into our notifications and see the number of notifications we have right here. And it's just 10 notifications. And when our task is run at 8:43, we're gonna see more notifications right here. But for now, I'm just gonna go and we are going to inspect or see our terminal right here. All right, so perfect. Now you just saw it. The task just ran like that. And I'm gonna go into our admin and refresh to see if we actually receive some notifications right here. No notification was created. All right, guys, so there was no notification created because we had an error in our task. It says project.objects.due in 2 days. And now it's actually telling us project manager has no attributes, no attribute due in 2 days. All right, guys, so the error that we had was because we actually need to add the due in days to our project manager. So I'm just going to copy and paste it right here. And now what we need to return is going to be return, and I'm going to copy this and then paste it right here. So we say return, and now we are returning self.getQuerySet.active.upcoming dot, and then the last one is actually going to be the due in this. So I'm going to copy that one and paste it right. Sorry. I'm going to copy that one and then paste it right here like this. All right. So now we can save changes. Sorry about that. And now we can save changes like this. Okay. So now that we have done some kind of modification, we need to clear our Redis, our Celery worker like this, and then run it once more. We wait for it to run, and I'm also going to come to the bit, and then I'm just going to run it once more. Now that all our servers are running, I'm just gonna go into our admin right here, and inside the admin, I'm just gonna click on the periodic task. And now that we have this periodic task, I'm just gonna click here and then scroll down to where we have the task right here, the cron tab schedule right here. I'm just gonna click on edit, and it's now 8:59. I'm just gonna make it 9 o'clock, so 21, and it's just gonna be 00. And now I could just click on save, come here and also click on save. So let's monitor our terminal. Now we are seeing that it's actually sending this task, and I'm just gonna go here and it actually gets all these tasks created. So Celery actually received these tasks. It actually sent these tasks to Celery, and Celery actually created all of them. So I'm just gonna go here, and now we're gonna refresh to see the number of notifications we have, and it has now moved to 58 notifications. All right, so I'm just gonna log out. I have actually logged in as Gentech. I'm gonna log out, log back in, and this time around, I'm just gonna log in as Hider and click on login, and we wait for me to log in. So now I could just refresh the page, and now we are seeing 29 notifications. So when I click on it, we are seeing a reminder, project something something is due soon. When you scroll down, we are also seeing the same information, project, and this is the name of the project. It's actually due soon, and we have created it a couple of times because we were actually doing a testing and we ran it multiple times. So when you click here, you are seeing everything, and we have actually not set all the notification list view. We have not set notification list view. If we had set notification list view, we could actually click on that to see all our notification. And that, guys, this is how easy it is for you to create a notification using Django Celery Bit. All right, guys, so welcome back. So now we are on our dashboard, and if you take a look at the sidebar here, we have swifthub. So suppose I click on swifthub, it actually gives me page not found because it's actually redirecting to dashboard.html. And also when you scroll down here where we have the dashboard, I click on it and it's also giving me the same thing. So let's actually go into our code and fix these ones. So I'm just gonna scroll down to the sidebar because that's where we have the code for all these things. So sidebar, I'm just gonna open sidebar and toggle into a full screen like this. All right, so from here we have swifthub, and I just want to make changes to it. So this is where it was actually redirecting us to the dashboard.html. So I'm just gonna delete this one right here because we don't need it. And from here, I'm just gonna do URL. I'm just gonna do URL like this. And now that we have the URL, I'm just gonna do dashboard. So it's gonna be in accounts column dashboard like that. So dashboard shouldn't be spelled with capital D. So it's gonna be smaller d. All right, so I'm just gonna copy this code. I'm just gonna copy this URL right here and come to where we have dashboard. So this one is for swifthub. So you can click on it and it's gonna take you to the main page or the dashboard. And we also wanna search for this one. So inside the sidebar, I'm just gonna search for dashboard. Okay, dashboard is even down here. And where we are seeing that it's actually redirecting to dashboard.html, I'm just gonna paste this code right here. So from here, we can actually save changes and refresh to test our application. All right, now I can click on swifthub and it actually takes me to the dashboard. And for any page that we are on, we can also click on dashboard and it's actually gonna take me on to the dashboard. I could even come to add project, and once I'm on add project, I can click on dashboard and it brings me back to the dashboard. Perfect. All right, so now that we have done this, we also want to take a critical look at this part. So we have dashboard all the way to notification. And for our application, we're gonna need only 3 links. So the first link is gonna be on the dashboard so that we can navigate back to the dashboard irrespective of the page we are on. You're also going to want to have one for project, and then the last one is going to be for teams, because task and Kanban board are all going to be shown on the project detail view. So we don't need them on the sidebar. And we're going to need teams, tags, and notification. Actually, we are displaying notifications at this part when you click on this bell icon or when you scroll down. So we don't need to have a separate link for notification on the sidebar. So let's go into our code and take out some of these things. So we're going to scroll down. Now we are going to maintain project. So I'm going to collapse that one down like this. We are maintaining project. Task, we are not going to maintain task. So I'm just going to scroll down to task and change task to teams. So task is going to be changed to teams. And where it says all tasks, we're going to do all teams. All teams like this. And let's scroll down. So from there, we also gonna so we don't need Kanban board. I'm just gonna collapse it and I will delete it later. We don't need teams because we already have it. And when you come here, we are seeing tags. We don't need tags. So I'm just also gonna collapse tags down, and then the final one is gonna be notification. So all these ones, notification, tags, teams, and Kanban board, we are not gonna need them anymore. So I'm just gonna save changes and come back to our dashboard, refresh, and this is what we have. We have dashboard, project, and then teams. Okay. All right, so now we want to do a couple of things. So now on the dashboard, we are seeing that the dashboard is showing this icon, and that's not what we want to show for a dashboard. We also want to actually show something else. So we have nav icon, FAS, and we have FAS and this. And that is what is actually displaying over there. So what we want to actually display at this point is to delete this one and do chart dash line right here. All right, so I'm just gonna save changes and then gonna refresh the page to see if it reflects, and now it's showing us this. All right, so you're also gonna realize that regardless of the page we are on, the dashboard is the one that is marked as active. You want to make it in a way that when the person goes to any of the page, that link is going to be marked active. So now we are on the dashboard and we want to mark the dashboard active. So this active is actually hard coded. So this is what is actually marking it as active. If I should take this one out and save changes, it's just going to be like any other link on our page and it's not going to be marked active. So we have to actually control it to make sure it marks active depending on the page we are on. All right, so we need to make an if condition to check if the URL we are on matches dashboard. If it actually matches dashboard, then we mark it as active. So here is how we make the if condition. So we're gonna say if, and we're gonna have to cut this active class, cut the active class, and then put it in between. All right, now we can make our if condition. So we're gonna say if request dot resolver underscore match. So if resolver underscore match dot URL underscore name is equal to dashboard. So if it is equal to dashboard, then we are going to show the class active. So the request dot resolver match dot URL name. So if this name matches dashboard, we're now gonna show the active class, else we are not going to show it as active. Okay, so I'm just gonna come here and then I'm just gonna refresh the page right here. So when I refresh the page, I'm getting dashboard to be active. But let's see if I go to add projects. Now dashboard is not it's not marked as active, and project is not also marked as active because we have not worked on it. All right, so at this point, I'm just gonna go into my code and then copy this condition right here. Then I'm just gonna scroll to where we have projects. So here we have project, and for project, we also need to change the icon first. So here we are displaying envelope for project. That's not what we want to do. Okay, so when you come here, we have nav icon far, and we have FA envelope. That's not what we want to display here. So first, I'm just gonna change this one to FAS, and from there, I'm also gonna leave it at this one here, but I'm just gonna change this one from envelope to project dash, and you say diagram. Okay, so let me save changes and see if it is actually working. So now we are seeing this icon change to this. All right, so now we need to mark this link as active when someone either clicks on add project or all project, but we can only work for add project because that is the only link we have worked on. In future, we are going to update our code to when someone even clicks on all project. So here I'm just gonna come to where we have project, and now it is actually saying nav link, and I'm just gonna paste this one right here. But now we can only do for create because we do not have all projects linked worked on. We have actually done with create project or add project. So if the link is actually equal to create, so create, I'm just going to go into the code and show you where we have the create. So when we scroll to where we have project and then URLs, we have create here. So if the link is actually equal to create, where is it? Create, then we can mark it as active. If not, we're just going to leave it. All right, so suppose we have actually worked on all projects link or view. We will say all, and then we also paste this one right here and change from create to list, something like that. So I'm just gonna scroll down to where we have the actual add project, and we also see that we have link right here. So I'm just gonna tap and then paste this one right here, and where it talks about the URL name, I'm just gonna make it create. All right, so in future, we will come and then update our code to actually reflect when someone clicks on all projects, so that all projects, either all projects or add project, is gonna mark this parents here active. All right, so let me save changes and we will test our application. So I'm just gonna refresh, and now project is marked as active. And when you come here, add project is also marked as active because we actually pasted it on the project itself and also on add the project. But now when you click on all projects, it's not going to mark it as active because we have not worked on that particular link. Suppose we have done that, we would have also done it, worked on it right here. All right, then the next thing we're going to do is to come to where we are showing the themes. So I'm going to scroll to where we are showing the themes, and here we have not worked on any link related to theme, but the only thing I want to do at this point is to change the icon here. Now it's actually showing envelope for theme, but that is not how it's supposed to be. So we want something, an icon that is related to user. So we have nav icon. So I'm going to do FAS, and the last one is going to be users right here. So I'm just going to save changes and refresh. And now we are seeing that we have a group of users as an icon for the themes. All right, guys, so now everything is looking nice, and that is all for this particular part 3. And if you like the video, if you're enjoying the series, don't forget to like, share, leave a comment in the comment section, and I am going to see you in part 4. Bye bye.